Chapter 80. Tang Tian was like a cat that had its tail stepped on. He jumped up and stared at Bing angrily. Scared? Asshole, are you trying to provoke me? Come on, let's fight to our heart's content. Tang Tian quivered and jumped up. Uncle Bing, Uncle Bing. Uncle Bing's heart was thinking. But all of their levels are much higher than you. The entire door was polished to a very smooth surface, like a mirror. Tang Tian ran to the mirror and struck all sorts of poses, his face full of pride. Yaya woke up for some reason and was immediately attracted by the bronze door that looked like a mirror, and climbed onto Tang Tian's shoulders, learning from Tang Tian and struck all sorts of poses. Seeing Uncle Bing, Tang Tian heaved a sigh of relief. After a while his face was filled with suspicion. Why did I fall asleep? Bing was slightly excited. It was as if he was witnessing a piece of unpolished jade, slowly being polished off, revealing the dazzling and beautiful jade inside. Bing had never looked down on Tang Tian. Tang Tian's ferocity, tenacity, stubbornness, arrogance and unruliness were all qualities that Bing admired, but today's Tang Tian still made Bing feel shocked. Oh, I guess you are more tired, Uncle Bing said indifferently. A ray of light flashed past Tang Tian's eyes, his right fist clenched into a hammer and fiercely smashed downwards. But having great strength also had its benefits. With sufficient leverage, Tang Tian's leap was extremely high. The top of the tunnel rapidly enlarged in his eyes, and just as he was about to crash into it, Tang Tian's 10 fingers were like hooks, and fiercely pierced into the top of the wall. Oh, you're awake? Uncle Bing's voice came from behind. Tang Tian snorted and was somewhat pleased. Of course, godlike young lad, you will never understand. Then Tang Tian was stunned by the scene in front of him. Tang Tian did not know that Bing's heart was turning behind him. He had not been in such a difficult situation for a long time. The arrow rain whistling from the end of the tunnel, did not know when it would end. Even if he tried to distribute his physical strength and true power, his physical strength and true power were still quickly depleting. Tang Tian curiously observed Uncle Bing's actions from the corner of his eyes, but he could not see clearly what Uncle Bing was doing. Tang Tian's physical strength and true power were quickly depleting. In such a desperate situation, the longer Tang Tian could endure it, the more benefits he would reap. The experience gained from such a battle was extremely precious, far more precious than cultivation. It wouldn't directly raise one's level, nor would it directly raise one's martial skills. However, the increase in one's strength was real. This fellow was simply born to fight. This is the real Tang Tian. What? Are you afraid? Uncle Bing's voice was filled with ridicule. Uncle Bing did not even look at him, as though Tang Tian did not exist. Seems like your energy recovered rather quickly. Hearing what Bing said, Tang Tian was stunned and scoffed. What's so great about it? This was the first time. The next time I come, I will definitely defeat it. You have the energy to brag, seems like you recovered. Bing said indifferently, then let's continue forward. Then time passed slowly. Tang Tian, who looked like he was staggering slow and could fall at any time, was stumbling but did not fall. Even though he was surrounded by danger, but Tang Tian still stubbornly moved forward. Tang Tian opened his eyes in a daze, as though there was a voice reverberating in his mind, and what entered his vision was the bronze ceiling with engravings of exquisite patterns. Many people thought that intuition was innate, but as the chief instructor of the Southern Cross Army, Bing was very clear that intuition was also honed. He already knew that Tang Tian trained his intuition. If not, Tang Tian would definitely not be able to endure for so long in the beating training. After experiencing the initial difficulty, Tang Tian gradually stabilized his footing. Tang Tian's fundamental martial techniques could be said to be perfect, but he had never encountered such an extreme situation before. Although the beating training in the recruit barracks was airtight, but compared to his current situation where he could lose his life at any time, it could only be considered as training. Under the pressure of the extreme danger, Tang Tian had no choice but to make his movements more logical, more concise. Jia, I will definitely become stronger no matter how far the heavens road is. I will not break my promise. Mom, wait for me to grow up and become a man. I will definitely protect you. The fist that was covered in green flames struck the arrow body without any fancy moves. As expected of fundamental Tang. After walking for a short distance, a bronze door appeared in front of him. Xiao. Tang Tian's reaction was much slower, his movements were difficult and he was surrounded by danger. Even Bing could not help but secretly praise him. Tang Tian could not remember how much he had advanced. Due to the overdraft of his physical strength, his mind was starting to become muddled and dazed. A punch landed on the arrow. Looking at Tang Tian staggering forward, Bing was silent, but a ray of light shone in his palm. Seems like it. Tang Tian also thought about some of the things that happened before, but suddenly his eyelids twitched. He suddenly turned, pointed at Bing and scolded, "You actually dare to call me rookie? This fellow, such a strong battle intelligence. This fellow was really a natural-born warrior." Bing, who was on his back, was looking forward to it. The 1,000-arrow passage was not that easy to pass. But this fellow's battle intuition had actually grown to such a level. Good. Yeah, we have a promise. I will definitely find you. And then he did the same thing. Bing, who was on Tang Tian's back, was slightly surprised. Tang Tian had many unimaginable methods, even he did not think of, but he could not help but sigh in admiration. He really could not understand, why would the usually stupid Tang Tian, once he entered battle, become so smart and agile? The recruits that Bing had dealt with in the past, although all of them were more outstanding than Tang Tian, but their ability to adapt in the face of danger was much worse than Tang Tian. Bing did not care about the two of them, walked straight to the door and fumbled for a while. Bing, who was floating in the air again, stared at Tang Tian, who was so tired that he had fainted, and could not speak for a long time. But in Bing's eyes he saw more. Under the danger, Tang Tian's potential was quickly unearthed. Although his figure became even more miserable, but his unnecessary movements were quickly decreasing. Under the pressure of the increasing attack rhythm, Tang Tian's movements became more and more concise. "Are there any more mechanisms in front?" Tang Tian asked with some lingering fear. Tang Tian actually started to fumble on his own. With the same strength, a person who had walked on the edge of life and death would have a stronger fighting ability and a higher chance of survival. It was hard for Bing to link the vigilant, sharp, outstanding battle intelligence fellow in front of him with the usual one-track-minded, stupid and naive Tang Tian together. An extremely strong force came from his fist. Tang Tian groaned, but he borrowed this force, soared into the air and shot towards the top. The power of the arrow was similar to what Tang Tian had expected. The power of this arrow was almost equivalent to a 4th-level martial artist. The power was extremely strong. If not for Tang Tian's skillful use of force, it would have pierced through his fist. The admiration in Bing's heart turned into surprise. He suddenly noticed Tang Tian had started to try and distribute the true power in his body. This really surprised him. To the recruits, the easiest mistake to make was not understanding the distribution of physical strength and true power, and the trick to this was only known to the veterans. Bing felt that he was fated to be frightened by Tang Tian today, because when he regained his senses, Tang Tian had actually finished walking through the 1,000-arrow tunnel. "Yo, young man, very stylish." Tang Tian's face was full of praise, and then complacently added a sentence. "Indeed, like master, like pet." Tang Tian's reaction became slower, but at the last moment before the bronze arrow hit him, he narrowly dodged it. "Wait a minute. Mom, I will definitely find that bastard, beat him up, drag him in front of you and repent for you." The bronze arrow did not give him a chance to catch his breath. Tang Tian roared, both his arms exerted strength. Like an arrow leaving the bow, he rushed forward while sticking close to the top wall. Bing's heart was getting more and more surprised. This was battle intuition. This fellow. The momentum suddenly stopped, his body sticking close to the top wall. The more concise the movements and changes, the more it was pleasing to the eye. Yaya was so excited that she somersaulted a few times on Tang Tian's shoulder. Tang Tian quickly realized the power of the arrows became stronger. The density also became more astonishing, the angle became more crafty, and Tang Tian's figure became more difficult. "Wait a minute." Bing stared blankly at Tang Tian. Not a single bronze arrow flew over. Tang Tian, who was out of danger, immediately fell face up, falling to the ground, his sweat splattering everywhere. Such a smooth bronze door. Just how far will you rush to? Although his speed was much slower, but he was still resolutely moving forward. This is just the beginning. Tang Tian became more and more at ease. The minute collapsing fist was full of power. It was best used to change directions. The broken shadow palm, one palm had more than 10 shadows, but it could disrupt the arrow's flight. Tang Tian's movements were extremely agile, his valiant physique, his flexible yet flexible body. This was the result of 5 years of fundamental martial techniques tempering. and was now displaying its huge value. The door creaked open after such a long time. It did not leave a single mark on the mirror like bronze door. The sound of air breaking could be heard. Bing was already prepared to make a move. He was waiting for Tang Tian to be unable to persevere and then he would take over. Tang Tian crawled up. Suddenly he felt something hanging on his hair. He touched his head and felt something. Grabbing it down, he realized it was Yaya. This little thing was hugging his bow and arrows, snoring loudly. His little tummy could still be seen moving up and down. Tang Tian shook his head and casually stuffed Yaya into his pocket. Tang Tian clenched his teeth, gathered his remaining energy, curled up his body, dodged a few bronze arrows, supported himself with both arms and forced himself to pounce forward. Bang! He finished walking the 1,000-arrow passage. He did not have enough energy and immediately felt like he was brushed by a stampeding rhinoceros. His entire body bounced up. In a moment of desperation, his 5 fingers suddenly flipped, fiercely piercing into the bronze wall, his entire body hanging on the wall. "Did I say anything wrong?" Uncle Bing mocked. "Just a single-person 1,000-arrow passage and it made you so miserable?" This 1,000-arrow passage in the past would be repeatedly broken every month for who knows how many times. "Oh, I remember once it was used too many times and it actually broke," causing the mechanics to specially come over to fix it. "You say these people are so bored." He was like a nimble leopard cat, his movements extremely fast. Chapter 81. This was a typical humanoid machine. It looked like a larger set of armor and was about 2 meters tall. The first impression this machine gave people was that it was sinister. Its head was a tiger's head. It was dignified and solemn. Every joint had a barb. Especially its finger joints. Tang Tian imagined that when he clenched his fist and punched the opponent, the barbs at the tip of the fist could easily break through the opponent's defense, and the strong force would destroy it. The 10 fingers had sharp tiger claws which could be locked down and were extremely lethal. Not to mention the knees and elbows. As long as the opponent was hit once, they would definitely lose their fighting strength. "Commander, you didn't come. And you never lose in cards, you sinister and black-bellied rascal, also didn't come. Screw you, are the strongest mechanical engineer, also didn't come." Bing looked at his own palms. "You all kicked me, the most useless rascal, back." "Why, Commander?" Before he finished speaking, bang, the saber-toothed tiger on the ground suddenly jumped up, fiercely crashing into the ceiling, creating a human-shaped hole. After a moment, it fell to the ground, creating countless of dust. "This type of battle machine is called mechanical weapons," Bing added and then pointed to the saber-toothed tiger. "Its specialty is its agility. It emphasizes on attacking, regardless if it is fist techniques, palm techniques, finger techniques, joint techniques, or leg techniques. They are all greatly strengthened. The degree of strengthening is between 20% to 25%, depending on the individual's standard." The bronze machines had all sorts of strange shapes. Some were shaped like beasts, some were shaped like humans, but there were even more shapes that Tang Tian could not describe. However, every single one of the bronze machines emitted an indescribable killing intent. The deep bronze color added a bit of solemnity to this faint killing intent. This was considered small. The bronze light aura suddenly entered his body. The insignia on the wall quickly dimmed. In the mirror, the eyes could move, the mouth could move, the nose could move, the eyebrows could also move, but actually it was as though it was drawn on. He composed himself. After a long while he slowly opened his mouth. "Commander, other than training the newbies I do not know anything, but I think since you all kicked me back you must be filled with unwillingness. You are not willing to fail like this, right? You are not willing to be annihilated like this, right? Right, you are not willing." The various martial techniques became extremely ferocious and their might skyrocketed. Tears blurred her vision as she spoke. Where his fist hit, the air completely collapsed and was annihilated. The surrounding air rapidly collapsed towards his fist, forming a terrifying sonic boom. Clang, clang. Tang Tian didn't know how to describe his feelings. He could not imagine how powerful the Southern Cross Army was in the past. Tang Tian was visibly moved. The strengthening of a martial technique by 20% was a rather frightening number. It was extremely difficult to increase the might of any martial skill by 20%. So powerful. A moment later all the changes stopped. Tang Tian walked forward in a daze. He was so shocked by the scene in front of him that his mind went blank. He subconsciously walked forward, his eyes greedily and passionately sweeping across these bronze machines. The incomparably excited Tang Tian took a step forward, but in the end he didn't control his strength well and fell to the ground head first. This was a large insignia. Every base of the army would have one of these insignia. Inside there was the brand of the army and it was the symbol of the Southern Cross Army. But very few people knew that the insignia contained another universe. No, to be exact, in the entire army only 4 people knew. Under the light from above, the bronze insignia on the wall pulled out a long shadow. It landed beside Bing, who was leaning against the wall as though it was a comrade of the past. The blank white face coupled with the facial features that looked like it was painted on, it was a living poker face. Can these machines still be used? Tang Tian couldn't help but ask. Bing tilted his head back and couldn't bear to look at it. Oh, young man, pay attention to controlling your strength. It will amplify your strength. In the deep darkness, the distant memories that had been asleep for thousands of years were awakened by the dazzling lights. After Bing said that, he floated away. But it's not that it doesn't have any weaknesses. Bing continued. The saber-toothed tiger is heavy on offense and light on defense. Its weight makes its defense not very outstanding. Also, it strengthens the instantaneous burst of true power. Short-distance sprinting speed is very good, but long-distance assault is not its strong point. Very small. Try walking 2 steps. Bing stood at the side, crossing his arms. He habitually patted his pockets, and then suddenly realized that he was already a spirit general. He felt a little regretful. If he had a cigarette or something it would be perfect. Tang Tian wore the saber-toothed tiger and ran wildly in the military armory. Occasionally he would knock down other mechanical weapons, but he did not care. He only felt an indescribable carefree feeling, as though his body had an endless amount of strength. Personally experiencing a mechanical weapon, it was a fresh feeling. Tang Tian was in awe of the people from the Southern Cross Army. Who was the one who created such a mechanism? It was truly too powerful. Although it looked extremely heavy, activating it only required a small amount of strength and it was extremely flexible. Doesn't it look like a human's blood vessels? Bing asked as he operated. Put the star rocks here. Bing pointed to a groove on the inner wall. Although the design of the back armor is the thickest and can withstand stronger attacks, but you better not use it as a shield. In actual combat, if the attack is too strong, the groove may be destroyed. Oh, then this toy will become a bronze can. Other than training, I don't know anything else. Bing sat down, leaned on the wall with the emblem and muttered to himself. You guys are all very powerful, but all of you are lazy. You guys are obviously not satisfied, but you leave me alone. How awkward is that? But Tang Tian, this fellow is not bad. Oh, he is a good seedling. Just that it is something from our era and is slightly outdated. This is a problem. The blank face started to show eyes, nose, mouth and eyebrows. Tang Tian was stunned by the punch. Bing opened his eyes and the emblem in front of him suddenly became a mirror. Seeing the person in the mirror, Bing was stunned and immediately roared in anger. Captain! You asshole! Don't tell me when you were making the emblem you were playing poker. Bing looked and nodded. You have a good eye. It is called saber-toothed tiger. It is a typical close combat mechanical weapon and is very suitable for your fighting style. Bing said as he opened the mechanical weapon's chest armor. It was empty inside, and on the inside of the mechanical weapon, there were many complicated red lines, and on the deep bronze background the red lines were extremely eye-catching. Bing's body trembled. On his forehead, a bronze Southern Cross imprint appeared, and his originally translucent body became more solid. He was very clear of the power of the Great Avalanche, but he did not think that, wearing the saber-toothed tiger, the Great Avalanche that was released would actually have such power. The Great Avalanche that was released normally could shatter the air, but was unable to destroy it. The perfect Great Avalanche had its power increased by 20% and had a qualitative change. Right, you can go in and try. Bing roared at the emblem for half a day and finally stopped. He looked at the emblem in a daze and snorted, You assholes, you must have had fun playing poker in hell and left me alone in the human world. Is it because I don't play poker with you normally? This base is just for everyone to train and rest. The military weapon warehouse is very small. Bing played it down. Tang Tian felt that he was like a berserk fighting machine, invincible. Bing looked around and sighed. I remember that this base was designed and built by Screw. This fellow's requirements are the most perverted. For this place to be preserved so well, it is all thanks to him. Here you can see for yourself the standard equipment of the army in the past. The things for those perverted fellows to use are not here. Pa. Bing extended out his palm and placed it on the emblem. The blood in Tang Tian's body was immediately ignited, and he started to unleash his various martial techniques frantically. The emblem suddenly lit up with a faint light aura, and the bronze Southern Cross imprint lit up like a star. Saber-toothed tiger. Tang Tian immediately fell in love with the name. Bing wiped his tears, looked at the emblem and muttered, "The poker card is soaked in water. It is indeed a little ugly. It really hurts my image as an iron-blooded instructor." A little. Tang Tian nodded his head. Bing was very familiar with it, as though he was very familiar with it. "Young lad, you play by yourself first. I'll go take a look at other places. Don't worry, this toy is very sturdy." "Even more perverted fellows?" Tang Tian asked curiously. Bing looked at the emblem in front of him. "Captain, don't lie to me." Bing muttered to himself. "Yes, experts will have specialized mechanical engineers custom-made them, tailored for them. Ordinary soldiers do not have such treatment." Bing explained. Upon hearing Bing's words, Tang Tian could not wait and immediately went in. It should still be usable. Bing was not sure. "Pick one and try it." "This one," Tang Tian said without hesitation. He just sat there talking endlessly as though he was talking to a friend. The saber-toothed tiger came to an abrupt stop, as smooth as flowing water. Tang Tian took a deep breath, and with a punch all the true power in his body surged out. It was as though a world door had been opened. Good. Tang Tian was extremely excited. He could not hold it in any longer. His gaze swept around, and his gaze was immediately attracted by a bronze machine. Great avalanche. Rows of neatly arranged bronze machines were like ferocious beasts, silently squatting there. One could not see the end of them with a single glance. The deep and reserved luster of the bronze, simple and desolate like that era, the smell of blood and fire, rushed towards him. It was Tang Tian's first time encountering such a fun thing. At the start, it was not easy to control and often fell and lost control. But very quickly Tang Tian's beast-like reaction speed quickly gained the upper hand. Chapter 82. Tang Tian was stunned, but he still did not believe it. Such a strong mechanical weapon, it definitely surpasses many bronze-ranked treasures. Although Bing was surprised by Tang Tian's craziness, he did not say anything. He easily guessed Tang Tian's thoughts. In fact, Tang Tian's one-track mind, no matter what he did, he would show it on his face. Scheming and whatnot, to Tang Tian it was something too high-end. The ground trembled and Tang Tian's surroundings lit up with a light screen enveloping him. "We're going back just like that?" Tang Tian's eyes widened, somewhat unsatisfied. "Then I'll bring a saber-toothed tiger out." Bing's expression was sluggish, as though he did not see it. He continued, "Of course, to fully unleash the power of a weapon, this is a quality that a qualified warrior must possess. Just now when I said the saber-toothed tiger cannot compare to the blue peacock, it was not nonsense. Because the blue peacock has a martial spirit, but the saber-toothed tiger does not. A smart weapon is far more outstanding than a strong weapon. But, regarding treasures, my understanding is still very little. For an antique like me to understand these people requires time. But what I can tell you is not to walk on our old path, the path that has already been proven wrong no matter how strong it looks now." "Your Aquarius martial cabinet can hold it?" Bing glanced at Tang Tian. "I brought it," Bing said, and passed the spirit nucleus and jade spirit steel to Sai Lei. Sai Lei did not raise his head to look at Tang Tian. "Did you bring the spirit nucleus and jade spirit steel?" Tang Tian was surprised. He did not expect this rascal to work like a different person. "Fifth level is also considered an expert?" Bing snorted. The cross imprint on his palm suddenly lit up, a ray of light from Tang Tian's palm into the badge. He did not make a sound and lightly coughed. "All right, young man, stop." Back at the recruit barracks, Tang Tian immediately began to train crazily. "Outdated? Nonsense. The saber-toothed tiger is even more powerful than those bronze treasures." Tang Tian obviously did not agree with Bing's words and refuted loudly. But Bing was not worried. Tang Tian's battle intelligence was extremely high. As long as something did not work in battle, he would quickly understand. Sometimes he even had the misconception that he was naturally suited for those mechanical weapons. But at least Bing was right. The current him was too weak. Not only was he unable to unleash the power of the saber-toothed tiger, he was also unable to protect it. If he couldn't even protect his own weapon, Tang Tian definitely couldn't accept it. It's dependence. Many people rely on it too much and are not willing to improve themselves. Bing said solemnly, Tang Tian, you must remember, no matter how strong the treasures or armors are, they are not as useful as your own power. Your fists, your true power, your martial techniques, your body, you are the most trustworthy. Even if you do not have any treasures or weapons, you can still fight tenaciously. Don't lose yourself in external forces, no matter how strong they are. No matter when, improving your own strength is the most fundamental method. Only by becoming stronger could he openly wear that big thing and run amok. What is that? Tang Tian asked subconsciously. But at the same time, Bing was very clear how stubborn Tang Tian was. A person who could keep quiet under heavy pressure. A person who trained for 5 years in fundamental martial techniques. Once he set his sights on a target, even 5 bulls would not be able to pull him back. Tang Tian followed behind. I can't fit it. Tang Tian was even more unsatisfied. I can wear it and walk. They are all mine. Tang Tian looked as though he was struck by lightning and looked around in a daze. It was like Xiao Bai suddenly realized the sky was raining carrots. All right, don't be so useless. A few outdated antiques can make you lose your composure. Bing frowned, his eyebrows were like thick eyebrows drawn on, moving and moving. It was indescribably comical. Wah, they are all mine. Huh, this is too cool. Tang Tian's heart was filled with energy. Other than finding Chia and that asshole, now Tang Tian had an even closer target. Tang Tian's face was filled with displeasure, but he knew Bing was right. The bronze mechanical ostrich had attracted a bunch of debauches. If it was the saber-toothed tiger, he reckoned he would not even be able to walk out of that street. All right, go and take over this base. Bing said helplessly. Sai Lei took it, examined it for a moment and said with satisfaction, not bad. Everything is complete like this. I have completed the rough embryo. All right, you guys can scram, don't disturb my work. 5 days later, come back to take it. All right. Tang Tian immediately ran over with his eyes shining, to take over a Southern Cross Army base. Wow, it was so cool that he could wake up from his dreams laughing. Bing, like a magic trick, took out a box from nowhere and pushed it to Tang Tian. Huh. When the two of them rushed back to Sai Lei card shop, the messy card shop had once again become neat and tidy. Tang Tian's excited cheers came out from the pile of mechanical weapons from time to time. When Bing found Tang Tian again, seeing Tang Tian's agile movements, he was slightly surprised. This rascal completely did not look like he was playing for the first time. Wah. Uncle Bing, you have such a good thing and you actually hit it. That's not good enough. That's great. I dare say I can now kill a 5th level expert. Tang Tian's excited voice came out from the saber-toothed tiger. Do you know what can be done in half an hour in a war? 1 charge. Bing raised a finger. Then you have to climb out of the bronze can. You can't even change the star rock because it needs to go through 12 hours of cooldown before it can be used in battle again. It can't compare to the blue peacock on you. You have not truly unearthed the potential of this treasure armor. But the scariest thing is not this. As expected. But before that, the most important thing was to make himself stronger. You're saying these are all mine? Tang Tian extended his finger and gestured. Godlike young man, godlike mechanical weapons. He heard everything that Bing said, but he did not agree with everything. He had his own thoughts. Bing did not say anything. He was suddenly curious. Tang Tian's parents, who exactly were they? What relationship did they have with the Southern Cross Army? Half an hour? Tang Tian was stunned. His mind was still on the saber-toothed tiger. He loved mechanical weapons very much. Go. Bing took the lead and floated forward. When the light screen dispersed, Tang Tian was a little uncertain. That's it? Tang Tian looked at Bing strangely. Wasn't it originally like this? Tang Tian's heart was extremely sullen, as if, wah, a big pie fell from the sky, wah, so fragrant, wah, so cool, wah, I can't eat it. I have to become stronger. This scene, no matter how he looked at it, Tang Tian felt that it was unspeakably weird. He could not help but ask, Sai Lei, what did you do to them? 10 days of hardship passed in the blink of an eye. With a goal, Tang Tian was even more energetic. Every time he was tired, he would think of the enchanting feeling when he was wearing the big thing, and it was as if there was a fire burning in his body. Tang Tian reluctantly opened the saber-toothed tiger and walked out. He looked at Bing with longing. Uncle Bing, can you give this saber-toothed tiger to me? Now he only needed 5 days and Tang Tian could start a round of hardship. Bing realized Tang Tian was working even harder than before, training as if he did not care about his life. He started to train his leg techniques as he did not have the relevant foundation previously. He started from the most basic leg techniques. He did not have any thoughts of taking shortcuts and tirelessly trained in the most basic martial techniques. The black, white and flower 3 pandas were like 3 obedient babies, working diligently. They were dressed in work clothes, wearing dust-proof hats and were extremely busy. They did not even raise their heads to look at Tang Tian. Tang Tian flew and placed his palm on it. It was an unexpected surprise. Tang Tian comforted himself, but he did not open it. Tang Tian did not know why, but he felt that the big thing made his blood boil. It suited his appetite and made him even more excited. No problem. Bing straightforwardly waved his hand. Everything in here is yours. Bing sighed. It is indeed outdated, believe me. You think it is very powerful now, but that is because your knowledge is still too little. For example, the saber-toothed tiger, you think it is very powerful, but let me tell you. Once it enters a real battle, a 5th-level star rock can only support it for half an hour. Then what do you think? Bing rolled his eyes. All right, let's go, we need to go back. I have found the spirit nucleus and jade spirit steel. Luckily the warehouse still has some stock. The 3 pandas who were working hard, upon hearing that, their bodies trembled. Oh, after clearing the traps, I collected them from the corpses. All these years there have been many people who have barged in. Bing played it down. The few fellows who followed us also died. A pity they did not have anything good on them. There are too many things, you have to count them yourself. Put them in your Aquarius Marshall cabinet. The truth will prove everything. Bronze Army. Go go go. Then how did we lose that year? Bing spread out his hands. I personally experienced that defeat, I know it better than you. What is this? Tang Tian asked angrily. With that she lowered her head again and focused on her work. Hey uncle. Tang Tian interrupted Bing's torrent of words. That's right. What's wrong? Bing did not understand. Hey uncle, you finally couldn't resist drawing a face for yourself. Tang Tian immediately smiled and rushed into the mechanical weapon, touching here and there. Although Yaya did not understand, she followed and jumped up and down. Bing helplessly brought Tang Tian to the badge. Oh, press your palm on it. Tang Tian immediately stopped. And then it will be taken away by others? Bing sneered. This is not a bronze mechanical ostrich. If you dare to wear it out, there will definitely be people who will kill you and take away the mechanical weapon. Don't count on me, I am just an instructor. Fighting is very normal. Bang bang bang. Chapter 83. Martial Spirit Contract? Sai Lei calmed down. Once the martial spirit contract was signed, it would leave behind the imprint of the martial spirit. No matter who it was, they would not be able to break the contract. Just from these 4 words, Sai Lei knew that the other party was not ordinary. Ordinary people would never have heard of these 4 words. Sai Lei looked at Tang Tian in bewilderment. She teased, "Oh, don't tell me you have a mechanical weapon." But her teasing was too funny. How could there still be a mechanical weapon left in the world? Impossible. She shook her head. But looking at Tang Tian's serious expression, she said, "Although I have never seen a mechanical weapon before, I know that there are people who have already started experimenting with it." Sai Lei's eyes flashed a look of satisfaction. She raised her beautiful face and said, "The Southern Cross Army's mechanical weapons had once created a very glorious history. There were mechanical weapons that were unearthed. Although they could not be restored, we could still see that the mechanical weapons had reached a peak. There were many mechanical engineers who researched on this. Now the mainstream view is that the mechanical weapons have reached the pinnacle. This is the reason why they are so strong. But it is also the reason why they failed. They do not have a martial spirit." "Oh my God. I actually found 3. Sai Lei screamed. She was so excited that she almost fainted. Bing had already recovered from the shock. He said, "The idea is not bad. But it is hard to say if it can be realized." All of Tang Tian's wealth, all of his silver grade cards, including his treasures and whatnot, totaled up to only 200,000 star coins. Sai Lei paused. She did not expect that Tang Tian would actually ask such a question. She said, "I will only know after seeing it." The mechanical weapons are the machines of the Southern Cross Army. Oh, in that era they were called mechanical techniques. I also like this name. The mechanical weapons of the Southern Cross Army are the pinnacle of mechanical techniques. The system is huge and complicated. Honestly speaking, just based on mechanical techniques, we are still far from it. I have yet to see a real mechanical weapon. How far can it go? We can sell the mechanical weapons, Bing said calmly. We can talk about the money problem. Bing said calmly, I can let you study the mechanical weapons. But we need to sign the martial spirit contract. What exactly did this woman do to these three vicious fellows? Tang Tian muttered in his heart as he asked, Is the soul refining tool ready? Was this woman up to no good? Mechanical weapons had a fatal attraction to Sai Lei. As he spoke, Sai Lei put on a haughty expression. Upon hearing that, Tang Tian's heart moved and he blurted out, Then can you improve the mechanical weapons? The nervousness in Sai Lei's pupils immediately disappeared, and she heaved a sigh of relief. Bing, who she could not see through, made her nervous, but the one-track-minded Tang Tian made her feel more at ease. Bing, who initially did not care, revealed an attentive expression. Tang Tian could not take his eyes off it. Sai Lei sneered, Don't act like you are an expert, there are better ways. Think about it, if you add in the spirit cards, it would be equivalent to having a weapon. This is the perfect combination, but, to be able to fuse a spirit card with a star treasure, only a genius mechanical engineer like me can do it. This is my unique consummate skill. Yes. Tang Tian nodded. That's right. Once it involved professional content, Sai Lei's expression became serious. No matter how powerful it is still a dead object, and that is the reason for its failure. It was replaced by star treasures because of this reason. Star treasures have martial spirits, they have room to grow, they have room to strengthen, they are smarter, they can resonate with martial artists. Everyone knows, to high-level martial artists, martial spirits are more important than true power, and that is the reason. Mechanical weapons can strengthen true power, but there is no martial spirit. Star treasures may not be that powerful at the start, but as long as you keep digging, it will become more and more powerful. Don't tell me there are two? Sai Lei's eyes lit up and immediately jumped up. Oh. Tang Tian shook his head. Sai Lei's expression froze. Uncle, we don't have that much money. Tang Tian reminded, although they had long gotten rid of the poverty of the past, but 2 million star coins to them was still a huge sum. Sai Lei was talking about star coins and not other currencies. Star coins were Heaven's Road's hard currency, its value was linked to star rocks, and thus it was extremely strong. Tang Tian felt that what Sai Lei said was completely reasonable. Give it a martial spirit then. Sai Lei had a "you're an idiot" expression on her face. Tang Tian sat down and started to check the box that Bing gave him. Inside was a pile of junk, but there were not many valuable things. There were a few suitable rank 4 silver grade cards, and Tang Tian's rank 4 martial techniques were all gathered together. But what made Tang Tian the happiest was a bronze rank Aquarius martial cabinet. Sai Lei's attire today was completely different from the previous time. She was wearing an extremely short and old pair of jeans, which accentuated her pair of snow-white slender legs, and a simple white short-sleeved t-shirt. Her hair tied into a ponytail was unspeakably refreshing, brimming with the aura of youth. Sai Lei was surprised by Bing's seriousness. She waved her hands and pretended to be relaxed. I'm just saying, this lady has never seen any mechanical weapons before. Suddenly her eyes lit up and she rushed to Tang Tian, bent down and said passionately, Godlike young lad, don't tell me you're interested in this? That's great. As long as you sponsor me, as long as I have sufficient funds, I have complete confidence that I can build it. How about it? I'm only interested in the mechanical itself, the results can all be used by you. Oh, I can even custom make a mechanical weapon for you. Tang Tian smacked his fist, suddenly enlightened, and became extremely excited. That's right. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Sai Lei card shop. Back at the energy crack, Jing Hao had not returned yet, so Tang Tian found a secluded corner to train. Yaya came out from Tang Tian's pocket, its small head looking around. It was extremely curious about the energy. But after a while it fell in love with the energy. What martial spirit contract? Tang Tian had never heard of it. He was completely following Bing's request. Sai Lei was even more shocked. Such a person who was so proficient in martial spirit contracts. Where did he come from? Only those aristocratic families with a long history would have such a person. Add a martial spirit. Tang Tian was stunned. The three pandas obediently stood guard at the door, smiling from ear to ear like professional doormen. If I give you a set of mechanical weapon, can you improve it? Tang Tian asked closely. Martial spirit. That's right. Why didn't I think of it? Bing was dazed and muttered to himself. After much difficulty, Sai Lei asked impatiently, quickly bring me to see the mechanical weapon. Where did you find this mechanical weapon? Bing's face was calm, waiting for Sai Lei's decision. Although the bronze mechanical ostrich looked huge, it used the folding mechanical technique and could be folded into a small ostrich. This was because the structure of the bronze mechanical ostrich was simple. This could be seen from the name. In the eyes of the mechanical engineers of the Southern Cross Army, such a simple thing could only be called a machine. They did not even have the qualifications to use the word mechanism. On the fifth day, Tang Tian entered Three Spirits City. Sai Lei looked at Bing suspiciously. Now she realized that Bing was different. This one. Tang Tian shook his head. We have more than one. She clenched her fist and placed it in front of her chest. Her voluptuous breasts were about to pop out. Her face was flushed red. Her eyes had a hint of flirtatious look, and she kept flirting with Tang Tian. Know the mechanical technique, know how to warm the bed. Such a cute girl. Where can I find you? You only need to pay 2 million star coins a year, and I feel very comfortable hugging you. We have decided to sponsor you. Sai Lei's pounce missed. She staggered, but she anxiously said, Don't sell. Don't sell. As long as you give me the mechanical weapon to research, I will consider it as your sponsorship. I will think of a way to get the money myself. Bing pointed at Tang Tian. Him. Good. I will sign. Once Sai Lei made a decision, she was straightforward, without any hesitation. With that said, Sai Lei shot forward, both hands grabbing at Tang Tian. Tang Tian was shocked. His reaction was fast. His legs moved like lightning. He retreated a few steps and once again widened the distance between them. Hey, with the genius young lady making a move, what is this problem? Sai Lei raised her head proudly and snorted. It is just a training spirit device. Even if you give me the Southern Cross Army's mechanical weapon blueprint, I can also make it. Compared to the iron-grade Aquarius Martial Cabinet in his hands, the bronze Aquarius Martial Cabinet was much bigger. It could completely fit 5 saber-toothed tigers, causing Tang Tian to regret to the point that his intestines turned green, tears streaming down his face. Why did he not realize it at that time? Seeing how anxious Sai Lei was, his face did not have the slightest bit of calmness and completely lost his balance. Tang Tian could not help but feel moved, although Sai Lei was abhorrent in many ways, but his love for mechanical techniques did not come from his heart. This kind of love from the heart made Tang Tian moved. He was just about to speak when Bing spoke. Bing's body trembled and muttered to himself, No martial spirit. Tang Tian did not have mixed feelings like Bing. He was more concerned about another problem. Then how do we solve it? Who do I sign with? Sai Lei suddenly asked. Tang Tian continued to shake his head and grinned, revealing his snow-white teeth. It is a military weapon warehouse. With regards to the simple structure of the mechanism to the mechanical engineers of the Southern Cross Army, they had long studied it thoroughly and had already lost interest. This kind of low-level machinery was too limited to increase one's strength. Mechanical weapons were much more advanced. Its internal structure was extremely complicated. To amplify true power, to increase the power of martial techniques, that was already on another level of content. After 3 days, Jing Hao returned. The two of them casually chatted for a while and then started training. To prevent the energy from being chaotic, the two of them trained far away. The cliff was extremely wide, enough for the two of them to not disturb each other. Sai Lei's face changed and she hesitated. Although she was extremely eager to research on mechanical weapons, but once she signed such a contract, she would truly be selling herself. Tang Tian looked at Sai Lei with some lingering fear. So stupid. Sai Lei touched her smooth and exquisite chin, looking like an expert. Now there are so many constellations in Heaven's Road, and star treasures are much more common than before. Combining the two, it will be perfect. Mechanical weapons are a good body, star treasures are equivalent to a good brain. Combining the two, that is powerful. That is a way. Tang Tian nodded his head. What? Sai Lei was stunned. Suddenly she reacted and looked at Tang Tian in disbelief. You guys have mechanical weapons. Upon seeing Tang Tian, Sai Lei's eyes lit up. You're finally here. If you had stood me up, you'd be dead. Sai Lei was stunned and so was Tang Tian. Under Sai Lei's pressure, Tang Tian's body leaned back with all his might, his face full of fear, all the muscles in his body tensed up, his legs prepared to escape at any time. Bing suddenly spoke. Chapter 84. His movements and standard. The higher the standard, the better. Bing had already started to plan in his heart, to find an outstanding opponent for Tang Tian. It was a pity that he was the only one left in the army. If not, he could pull out a dozen of the perverts in the army and teach Tang Tian a lesson one by one. When she saw the entire armory full of mechanical weapons, she immediately fainted. When she woke up, she was completely immersed in the formation of the mechanical weapons. No matter what Tang Tian said to her, she acted as though she did not hear anything. Her mouth was mumbling to herself as though she was in a trance. Tang Tian was dumbstruck and immediately had a look of sympathy. Uncle, it was not easy for you to survive in such a vile environment. Which place? Is there a difference? Tang Tian learned very quickly and followed from afar. Kong Yulin did not expect that in Three Spirit City, there would actually be someone following him. Back at Three Spirit City, the two of them prepared to return to the recruit training camp. Although Three Spirit City was a spirit region, but the flow of time was no different from a non-spirit region. So the time in the recruit training camp was especially precious, and Tang Tian, who felt that he did not have enough time, was not willing to waste it. The saber-toothed tiger's attire was simple, and the experienced Tang Tian quickly wore it neatly and was ready to go. The murderous saber-toothed tiger moved its four limbs and neck and suddenly stopped. The imposing tiger's head, the killing intent converged. In the blink of an eye, Kong Yulin entered a house. Bing was extremely experienced and his eyes were extremely sharp. Very quickly Tang Tian saw Kong Yulin again. Tang Tian was roused and was about to go over when Bing suddenly said, "Don't tell me you don't intend to use the saber-toothed tiger?" Bing's eyes twitched. If this fellow was under him, he would definitely throw him into the black prison to starve to death. Kong Yulin. Tang Tian felt an indescribable excitement. Just as Tang Tian was about to jump in from the tree, Bing suddenly stopped him. "Be careful, this is a trap." Whatever grievances, he would use his fists to settle it. With that thought, Bing not only did not stop him but also guided him from the side. This feeling was just too great. Bing followed behind Tang Tian without batting an eyelid, thinking to himself, Kong Yulin was a good opponent. Kong Yulin's strength was not bad. It was just right for Tang Tian to run into a wall. Since he was walking further and further down the wrong path, he might as well let Tang Tian stumble now. For someone as naive as him, such an action was completely unimaginable. He's so big. Won't he be discovered? Tang Tian was puzzled. Right, calm down, calm down. I haven't been an iron-blooded instructor for many years. I don't want to be an occupational disease. Ka ka ka. Don't stare at him too closely. It's easy to attract other people's attention. The key to stalking someone is to learn how to use the corner of your eye. Don't let your gaze fall on the target, but don't let it drift away either. Noticing the change in Tang Tian's expression, Bing's gaze turned towards him and he laughed. Bing's poker face twitched weirdly. He still had something to say. The saber-toothed tiger was indeed used to do some sneak attacks, but it rarely moved alone. And those who had the ability to control it alone and carry out a sneak attack were all experts among experts. Tang Tian did not hesitate. He immediately jumped down. Following Bing's instructions, he found the green brick and flipped over. Tang Tian could not wait to catch someone and fight to his heart's content. She'll be fine if I leave her alone here. Tang Tian was hesitant. Then we'll come back after a few days. Tang Tian said, we'll go back and test out the effects of the spirit weapon. You're a rookie. Bing said impolitely. Let's follow. Tang Tian said softly. With that, he bent down and followed Kong Yulin from afar. It was actually Kong Yulin. Tang Tian was not the least bit nervous. On the contrary, the dangers around him made him extremely focused. Young man, reality is always cruel. Ah, I learned it from others. Bing thought about the scene when he first entered the army. His heart was filled with warmth. That year he was tricked into the army just like that. Upon hearing that, Tang Tian did not say a word. Like a leopard cat, he leapt up the tree. The tree's leaves were extremely dense. Tang Tian's figure was hidden in it. It was extremely hard to detect him. Even Tang Tian felt that the defense of the Lin family was too weak. Who did not chop down the trees outside the walls? Wasn't that giving people the chance to attack? But this world was even more unfamiliar to Bing. Tang Tian was shocked. This Lin family, what was its background? Just like in the ancient times, it would quietly enter the darkness after waking up and enter the hunting grounds. Within the walls, layers of red tiles and cornices were piled up. Tall buildings stood in great numbers. It occupied a few hectares of land. Tang Tian never thought that, within the walls, there would be so many buildings. It was like a small town. Bing said in a low voice, "Humph, such a design is really stupid. I hate this kind of sinister design the most. The defense should be open and above board so that the enemy can't break through. Start counting from your feet. Turn left. The 19th brick. Enter from there." That's right. Bing clenched his teeth. A bastard who only knows how to eat, drink and play. He never cares about the proper business. He is a cunning and treacherous person who will sell you out any time. He is an idiot who roasted meat in the middle of the night and burned down the army camp. Bing did not stop him. In his eyes, Tang Tian had the mentality of a typical recruit. He was very experienced in dealing with such recruits. To suppress and berate them at this time, not only would it not let the recruit understand, it would also cause the recruit to have resistance in his heart. The best way was to let Tang Tian hit a wall in actual combat. Bing suppressed the irritation in his heart and kept himself calm. "Let's start from here." "I don't know." Bing straightforwardly shook his head. "For something like this, who can guarantee success? But she is indeed talented and very persistent. We also need a mechanical engineer. It is worth a try." Tang Tian walked one round around the perimeter wall. The Lin residents probably did not think that there would actually be someone who dared to mess with them. There was actually not a single guard. And the surrounding tall trees were actually not cleared. "Hey uncle, how did you know?" Tang Tian asked curiously. "Where should we sneak in from?" Tang Tian turned his head and quietly asked Bing. "Young lad Tang, you will stumble. You will know that the path you are stubborn on is a mistake." Tang Tian naturally had a face of satisfaction. Other than the training spirit device, he had brought a total of 5 sets of mechanical weapons. "Humph." Bing snorted. "Leave some rations for her. Let's go." Flipping over the perimeter wall, Tang Tian quietly landed on the ground without any sound. He leapt forward and hid in the shadows. Suddenly sticking to the bottom of the wall, he flew forward quickly. "You have a powerful spirit, General. I have a mechanical weapon. Seems like the people around you in the past were not good people." Tang Tian twitched his mouth. Suddenly, from the corner of Tang Tian's eyes, he caught a glimpse of a figure. His footsteps involuntarily stopped. There were no sentries in the sky, no patrols, no hidden sentries, no mechanisms. There was completely no defense. Bing was always able to tell him what to do at the right time. This fellow's standard was truly powerful. Under Bing's guidance, Tang Tian also noticed the hidden sentries and guards in the shadows. "Relax. The base is very safe." Bing looked at Sai Lei, who was practically lying on the mechanical weapon. After a moment of silence, he said, "These perverted lunatics. When they meet something they like, they will not have any other things in their eyes." But the ruthless Bing did not bat an eyelid. "Lin residence. There are spirit undulations there. Although it is very weak, but if you look carefully you can still feel it." Bing explained, "I am actually not familiar with traps. Generally speaking, mechanical engineers should be better at this. However, there were only a few types of traps. Spirit nuclei and spirit cards are the main methods of traps." Tang Tian was completely unaware of Bing's thoughts. Wearing the saber-toothed tiger, his entire body was emitting a cold bronze feeling. It caused something deep in his heart to break out. It was as though there was a blazing hot lava flowing through his heart. "Trap." Tang Tian quivered. Tang Tian was excited. The feeling of controlling such a big guy to fight was extremely satisfying. Bing snorted, "Don't just use your eyes to come to a conclusion. You are now easily discovered. Your light body technique is too weak. When you land there will be a sound. Although the saber-toothed tiger is big, it can strengthen your light body technique. It is not easy to be discovered. Also, the saber-toothed tiger has gone through professional camouflage. It is most proficient in surprise attacks. And the most important point of a surprise attack is to be able to quietly appear around the enemy. Tang Tian blushed with shame. I did not feel anything. You guys have powerful treasures. I have a mechanical weapon. Tang Tian laughed. He had traveled far and wide to find him. It was truly a narrow road for enemies. Tang Tian originally had a good impression of Kong Yulin. But he did not expect that Kong Yulin would actually send him to the big tomb's outer barracks. Tang Tian did not care about Kong Yulin's snobbishness. What did this person's character have to do with him? What did it have to do with him was that he quietly threw him to such a place. The newly activated base had powerful functions. Surprised Tang Tian. Under Tang Tian's control, the base had completely sunk into the ground. The entrance had disappeared. To prevent it from being dug up, the base was underground. It was moved 500 meters to the side. In one night, the ruins suddenly disappeared. This surprised many people. But very quickly no one cared. Although there were things dug out from the ruins, there were no precious items. Three Spirit City was located in a remote location in the Spirit region. There were few experts. Very quickly people forgot about it. Oh. Tang Tian replied. Immediately he asked excitedly, Uncle, do you think the improvements she mentioned will be successful? Tang Tian did not argue. Regarding the fact that he was a newbie, he was rather aware of it. I never thought that, although this woman is usually not proper, but she is really obsessed with mechanical techniques. Tang Tian suddenly glanced at Bing. I really couldn't tell, Uncle, you're so sinister. Tang Tian was overjoyed. He quickly ran to a corner and took out the saber-toothed tiger. Chapter 85. In a hidden corner, Tang Tian watched as Kong Yulin, who was accompanied by a few people, walked into a solemn and serene old house. What start? Bing was startled. Bing was taken aback. After a distance of 100 m, Tang Tian's speed did not decrease at all. Instead it increased. Short-distance sprinting was like that. Its speed was a process of continuously increasing. Tang Tian's speed could increase again. That meant his short-distance sprinting did not have any technical mistakes. Young lad, do you see that gray place? Bing suddenly said. Short-distance sprinting techniques did not have many essentials, but these few movements required the perfect coordination of the body. It was easy to say, but in high-speed sprinting, to maintain the coordination of the body was an extremely difficult thing. That year in the Southern Cross Army, many recruits had short-distance sprinting tests, and it was extremely troublesome. His ears were filled with the whistling of the wind, the bone-piercing cold bronze, the rapid flow of true power, the boiling hot blood, the young lad's burning heart. Tang Tian interrupted him. This is called practical learning. Hurry up, old man, don't talk nonsense. The godlike young lad is waiting anxiously. Bing simply waited for Tang Tian to hit his head and bleed. Humph, young lad, at that time, you will know that every word of the Ace Iron Blood instructor is priceless advice. To be able to have such a performance on his first short-distance sprinting, in Bing's career as an instructor, it was rare. Tang Tian's growth was more important than anything else. He shook his head and threw the thought to the back of his head. The times were different. Mechanical weapons were destined to be eliminated. The more time spent, the worse it would fall in the future. Stepping on the ground, the two thick and heavy bronze tiger legs suddenly exerted force. The soil under its feet suddenly exploded, flying everywhere. The saber-toothed tiger, in front of Bing's shocked expression, soared into the sky. Very anxious. Following Bing's guidance, Tang Tian noticed a corner of the outer wall of the old house. There was a piece of gray lime. That corner. Hearing Tang Tian's evaluation, Bing was too lazy to stop him. He was even more certain Tang Tian's arrogance, self-righteousness was starting to show, and he had the upper hand. The other party was also very proficient in mechanisms. A soundless roar of rage exploded in the youth's heart. With stubbornness and arrogance, he charged forward with his own sense of self-righteousness. The speed of the saber-toothed tiger was getting faster and faster, like a green gale. The heavy legs of the bronze mechanical ostrich made no sound when they landed on the ground. Compared to the bronze mechanical ostrich, the sound was almost non-existent. That's right. Bing did not talk nonsense. That's right. In theory, if your 8 steps overtaking cicada is executed perfectly, and your standard of controlling the saber-toothed tiger is equally perfect, then you can achieve this goal. Bing shook his head. But this is impossible. Your 8 steps overtaking cicada isn't bad, but the amount of time you've spent controlling the saber-toothed tiger is too short. You haven't gone through any systematic training at all. Short-distance sprinting is a complete blank. This guy, Bing's outstanding experience allowed him to see through the weakness of the defense. Just like that, Tang Tian didn't attract anyone's attention and quietly moved forward. As they went deeper, Tang Tian was soon astonished. He whispered, "Uncle, why do they have so many traps?" As an instructor, Bing was very clear: the battle of pride and the growth of the soldiers, which one was more important. "As long as we break through that corner, it'll be fine, right?" Tang Tian asked eagerly. Bing's gaze was fixed on Tang Tian's figure. "Is short-distance sprinting very difficult?" Tang Tian asked. Running with all his might. The thick and heavy tiger legs that were always light and agile were no longer as light as before. Like a sharp blade, they pierced deep into the ground. Tang Tian's fighting spirit was burning to the extreme. His eyes flashed with a cold and brave aura. He gathered all the strength in his body and without holding back he burst forth. Bing's face started to show a serious expression. Bing's gaze calmed down. Tang Tian silently recited the key points in his heart. Bing resisted the urge to slap him. His face was extremely ugly as he recited the key points of short-distance sprinting. Tangkeng. Rush. Cramming at the last minute is completely useless. Bing shook his head. He felt that Tang Tian's suggestion was simply a joke. If any of his recruits dared to suggest such a ridiculous suggestion, he would definitely lock them up without hesitation. All those who did not value training or looked down on training should be locked up. "That's right," Bing said. "This place is heavily guarded. You don't have many chances. If you are able to break through a distance of 432 meters in 8 seconds, you can avoid the sight of those bronze machines. That is a dead end. Once you enter that dead end, you can choose many routes of attack." This feeling was too wonderful. His movements became faster and his true power flowed even faster. Although he did not show any weakness, Bing's heart was secretly in awe. The two of them avoided one mechanism after another. There were so many mechanisms here that it made him suspect if he had returned to the past. Luckily, these mechanisms were obviously different from the past. So what if they activated perfectly? Back in the recruit barracks, other than those recruits with poor innate qualities, everyone else could do it. The explosive power of the saber-toothed tiger's short-distance sprinting was extremely shocking. The saber-toothed tiger pouncing on its prey was quick and violent. It was displayed vividly. And Tang Tian's control was flawless. The tiger's legs landed on the ground lightly. Swift and violent and light were two completely different styles. When mixed together, it produced an extremely strong visual impact. Seems like things were not that simple, and, start teaching now. Hurry up. If you delay any longer, I won't even be able to see that asshole's shadow. Tang Tian urged. Indeed, it is simple. All the rascals who looked down on training would die a horrible death. That's right. 8 seconds to break through 432 meters. That is already more than 50 meters per second. Even if it is a rank 3 light body technique, the highest speed is only 40 meters per second. Only a rank 4 light body technique can achieve such a speed. Bing was unusually calm. Your 8 steps overtaking cicada. Even with the addition of the saber-toothed tiger, the possibility of it being realized is only in theory. In Tang Tian's eyes, there was only the grayish-white at the corner. Young lad, you will soon find out how naive and laughable your thoughts are. Tang Tian was immersed in it, unable to extricate himself. The true power was transferred to the saber-toothed tiger and then flowed back into his body. A cycle of true power was established between him and the saber-toothed tiger. As the true power flowed back into his body, Tang Tian could even feel that inside the true power that flowed back, there seemed to be an additional coldness and austere of the bronze saber-toothed tiger. Tang Tian was completely immersed in the state of mind. It was as though there was a ball of fire burning in his heart. The wind whistled past. It was unprecedentedly fast, unprecedentedly exciting. But at this moment, Tang Tian's mind was abnormally calm. Every movement was extremely clear in his mind. His body was unspeakably coordinated. With a thought, his body would instinctively react. After confirming that he did not miss anything, Tang Tian suddenly opened his eyes. The majestic saber-toothed tiger's eyes also opened abruptly. The domineering aura of the king of the jungle was undoubtedly revealed. Its eyes slowly squinted, the light gradually converged, and its body gradually crouched down. The saber-toothed tiger suddenly crouched down, one of its legs retreating, its body crouching down as though it was about to pounce. The deep luster of the bronze in the shadows had a power that captivated people's souls. The barbs on its entire body were cold. In front of a godlike young lad, everything else is trash. Tang Tian was extremely domineering. If only he had such a recruit in the past. In theory? Does that mean there is a possibility of it being realized? Tang Tian immediately noticed the meaning behind Bing's words. This judgment made Bing more alert and did not dare to be negligent. Tang Tian and Bing's understanding of the big powers in Three Spirit City was extremely limited. What was the Lin family's background? They were completely clueless. Bing's gaze flickered and his excited state of mind calmed down. The Southern Cross Army had already been annihilated. There was no meaning in fighting over these. Tang Tian was the future. If there was still the Southern Cross Army, then the army's future would only fall on Tang Tian's shoulders. Bing looked at the bronze machinery unhappily. He could see that the opponent had obvious traces of imitating the Southern Cross Army. In the eyes of an ordinary person, they might think that the Lin family had obtained the inheritance of the Southern Cross Army. But in the eyes of a true expert like Bing, there were many mistakes. Most importantly, Bing's competitive heart was immediately stimulated. Bing snorted. He was waiting for Tang Tian to fail. Although he could not find any fault with Tang Tian's actions just now, he was not surprised at all. To a trump-card iron-blooded instructor, it was the most basic quality to have a complete understanding of the recruits under one's control. When the short moment sprint was activated, it required explosive power. Bing knew that Tang Tian's explosive power was very strong, so he was able to activate it perfectly. To him he was not surprised at all. But, Bing snorted, what kind of mechanism is this? Initially he hoped that Tang Tian would lose this battle. But when he saw the bronze machinery that had the strong style of the Southern Cross Army, his heart suddenly surged with an impulse. How could he lose to these scrap metals? 8 seconds. Tang Tian was stunned. Bing was surprised. He had not seen such a scene for a long time. If it was in the army, if other people saw Tang Tian's sprint, they would definitely cheer. Although he was against Tang Tian wasting time on the mechanical weapons, but to be able to display the saber-toothed tiger style to such an extent, his eyes could not help but flash a trace of admiration. A green shadow disappeared with a whoosh. In theory it is very simple. But after a long period of training, it is possible to reach a higher standard. Bing explained. The saber-toothed tiger's movements were very agile. Although it was heavy, its footsteps were silent. It was like a tiger pouncing on its prey. Bing did not have the slightest intention of hiding anything. He continued to give pointers to Tang Tian. Tang Tian seemed to be extremely talented in mechanical weapons. With just a few pointers from Bing he could quickly grasp it. This made Bing secretly surprised. Then let us begin. Tang Tian said quickly. Chapter 86. Tang Tian, who was in a state of extreme nervousness, was shocked by Bing's sudden words and almost jumped up. Haha. Kong Yulin laughed. Brother Kong, you flatter me. The head of the Lin family, Lin Jiang, said humbly. He was about 40 years old and looked thin, but his eyes were bright. He was dressed in a green robe. He smiled and said, compared to Brother Kong, I'm nothing. Brother Kong's swan armor is famous far and wide. Even I, who live in the Seoul region, have heard of it more than once. Lin Jiang waved his hand. Brother Kong, you are treating me like an outsider. Say it, your Uncle Kong is one of us. Bing had never taught Tang Tian's super long-distance jump. Shu, Silei. Lin Jiang frowned. Kong Yulin was surprised. Is it the Southern Cross Army's bronze mechanical ostrich? If Tang Tian was here he would definitely recognize that this young man was Lin Wei, one of the young men that he had bullied previously. Lin Wei heard Lin Jiang's scolding and saw that there was a guest, so he quickly apologized. Uncle, please forgive me, I was too rash. At this moment, Bing appeared beside Tang Tian like a ghost and suddenly said, this Lin family is really idiotic, the mechanical beast actually only recognizes others. Then he left behind a suave figure. He was a strict instructor and he was stubbornly strict towards training. But when his gaze followed the soaring saber-toothed tiger, the voices in his heart seemed to fade away. He was slightly absent-minded. The saber-toothed tiger in the sky rode on the sun, and he had an illusion that it was flying in the sky. Old man, hee. Bing's laughter was filled with killing intent. Could it be that there is a problem with the weak point arena? Lin Jiang was startled and quickly asked. Poof. Lin Wei heard and said honestly, the guy who rode the ostrich the last time appeared again, but it seems like he is with Sai Lei. This guy is really a pervert. The saber-toothed tiger's body did not move an inch. Tang Tian did not know that he had done something amazing, but to be able to complete it in 8 seconds he immediately became proud. If he was in a safe place he would have turned around and roared at Bing. But now, in this place he could only strike a proud pose like a strong man showing off his muscles. Every time I come to your residence, it widens my horizons. Kong Yulin's gaze swept across the bronze machines in the surroundings from time to time. Bing was shocked. His first reaction was, this action is not normal, this action is not logical, this action. Brother Lin might not know, but the weak point arena no longer exists. Kong Yulin sighed softly. Under the surprised gazes of Lin Jiang and Lin Wei, he continued, not long ago I went to Wuan Star to select a batch of newcomers. One of the newbies challenged the weak point arena and actually detonated the weak point arena. Gray Cat's pupil, and all the cards were destroyed. This old man must be doing it on purpose. This guy. Kong Yulin looked confident. However, to Tang Tian's surprise, the green light in the bronze wolf's eyes gradually dimmed. Lin Jiang said modestly, Brother Kong is flattering me. This is also the first time I've done something like this. I wonder if there were any problems with the weak point arena? Lin Wei heard and immediately bowed. Like a knife-piercing tofu, the saber-toothed tiger's extended leg was like a nail, deeply piercing into the soil all the way to the knee. Bing's face darkened. Tang Tian's jump distance was already more than 200 meters. To be exact, it was 224 meters. This standard even in the army back then. He stared blankly at the bronze saber-toothed tiger calmly pulling itself out from the soil. Kong Yulin laughed out loud. This standard of mine is really embarrassing. His tone changed and pretended to play it down. On the other hand, my sister has already broken through to the 8th level, making me as her elder brother feel ashamed. Lin Jiang was moved. If I did not remember wrongly, Missy Yu is only 28 this year. To actually step into the 8th level, this level of talent is really shocking. Congratulations, Brother Kong. Brother Kong's words, it's a classic case of taking advantage of others. I've been longing to have such a sister day and night. Lin Jiang pretended to be unhappy. After listening, Lin Jiang was silent for a moment, then said, Brother Kong's guess, I'm afraid it's not far from the truth. Other than the power of blood meridians, I can't think of any other power that can directly cause the gray cat's pupil to explode. But the strength of your association lies in treasures. This power of blood meridians is useless. Just at this time, suddenly a young man rushed in and shouted, Father! Father! Luckily this rascal was not under him in the past, if not he would have definitely led a bad example. Kong Yulin had long guessed the previous weak point arena wasted a lot of Lin Jiang's time, but since he was here naturally he had something to rely on. He laughed. Brother Lin, I know that you are busy. I heard that the Lin family's mechanical beasts have already been sold to constellations far away. I've brought something good with me this time. Lin Jiang revealed a difficult expression. Bing snorted coldly with a sour face. He floated to Tang Tian's side, his speed as fast as lightning. All sorts of mechanical beasts could be seen roaming around. When the saber-toothed tiger neared, the mechanical beasts all revealed a look of vigilance, the green light in their eyes exploding, but very quickly it quickly dimmed. Flipping over the wall, just as he landed, Tang Tian's body suddenly froze in front of him, a bronze mechanical wolf fiercely staring at him. Compared to Tang Tian's bronze mechanical ostrich, the mechanical wolf in front of him was much smaller and more exquisite. Its body was about the same size as a real wolf. Its entire body was bronze mechanical. The structure was intricate. The 4 claws were as sharp as knives. The wolf's teeth were so sharp that it made people's hearts tremble. The bronze wolf's eyes emitted a faint green light, causing Tang Tian's hair to stand on end. In a remote corner, under the glaring sunlight, a dull bronze mechanical weapon with a young man's arrogance and recklessness soared into the sky. Between his words, there was a trace of complacency. His sister Kong Yu had broken through to the 8th level, that meant that the Kong family's power would explode, and he would naturally benefit from it. How could he not hear the warmth in Lin Zhang's tone? Hearing that, Kong Yulin laughed heartily. Is this nephew? Truly a tiger father will not beget a dog son, he has some of Brother Lin's demeanor in the past. Bing placed his finger in front of his mouth, his face indifferent, forcefully blocking Tang Tian's roar in his throat. Impossible. Lin Jiang was shocked and blurted out. Kong Yulin pretended to mock himself. Brother Lin, don't make fun of me. Brother is not as good as sister, I really have no face. This asshole. Tang Tian actually had such a smooth journey. Bing stared blankly. Tang Tian was shocked by Bing's murderous aura and tactfully changed the topic. Ayaya, we have to speed up, don't let that asshole escape. Kong Yulin pulled Lin Wei up and warmly laughed. Nephew is so anxious, there must be something important, you guys go and discuss, don't worry about me. The heavy saber-toothed tiger started to descend. In the sky, Tang Tian's body stretched out, both arms raised high, one leg straight, the other bent. The ground in Tang Tian's field of vision rapidly enlarged, but Tang Tian was not the least bit frightened. His eyes were like a raging fire, an untamed smile blossoming on his mouth. Bing stared blankly at the saber-toothed tiger in the distance, using its other leg as a fulcrum, pulling out the leg that was deeply embedded in the ground. The shock in Bing's heart was indescribable. He had thought of all sorts of outcomes but definitely not the outcome in front of him. He had never underestimated Tang Tian's potential, but Lin Jiang frowned slightly and said in a deep voice, "What's the matter, why are you making such a big fuss?" With that, Tang Tian escaped under Bing's murderous gaze and flew towards the wall. Lin Jiang's face relaxed. "Why aren't you bowing to your Uncle Kong?" Lin Jiang regained his senses and nodded. "That's right, it's this item. That day when my son saw it he was stunned and wanted to buy it. Who knew that this person's temper was so ruthless and used his power to oppress others? But that person's strength was rather strong and even extorted them. This small grudge our Lin family naturally does not care, but Brother Kong also knows to the Lin family the bronze mechanical ostrich means a lot. If we can see it with our own eyes, the Lin family's mechanical techniques will definitely be able to reach another level. If he is willing to part with it, my Lin family is willing to pay a high price for it." Seeing Lin Wei's manners, Lin Zhang's face relaxed. Hearing that it was the big tomb's outer barracks, Lin Zhang's heart secretly trembled. This Kong Yulin was really vicious, but his mouth said, "Brother Kong is really kind to actually give him a way out." "Hey, this is the reason why I came this time," Kong Yulin said. Suddenly, a voice came from the front. Tang Tian's spirit was suddenly aroused and quietly felt his way over. It was his first time learning short-distance sprinting and he was able to reach such a perfect level. This made Bing very surprised. But this was only surprise. What really made Bing shocked was actually Tang Tian's leap into the air. Tang Tian did not know what his leap was exactly, but Bing was very clear. It had a special name called Super Long Distance Leap. It sounded like a very ordinary name. In fact, it was also a very ordinary training course. But when its distance exceeded 200 meters, then that was another difficulty. This level of super long distance leap required the control of strength to reach an extremely high level. "So you know my problem. Sometimes I'm a little naggy." Kong Yulin pretended to mock himself. "But this time I am actually here to ask Brother Lin to help me create another weak point arena." Lin Jiang sighed. "Brother Kong still knows my heart." "Yes, oh, so he went to the big tomb's outer barracks." Kong Yulin played it down and immediately laughed. "Such a strong blood meridian power can't be obtained by Onyx Soul." The saber-toothed tiger leapt high up like a big bird. "Old man, hee, you must be shocked by this godlike young lad," Tang Tian said proudly. "Old men are unable to understand the strength of young lads." Kong Yulin described the situation that day again. Tang Tian was so angry that his teeth were itching, but this was obviously not the place to flare up. He angrily walked forward. "Others might not know Brother Lin's attainments, but how can I not?" Kong Yulin said. "The weak point arena came from Brother Lin's hands. Even in the Honorable Martial Group, all the colleagues are full of praises. I never thought that the Southern Cross Army's antique would actually still exist in this world." Kong Yulin exclaimed and immediately consoled. "I support Brother Lin on this matter. This kind of divine object, if it is placed in their hands, it would be a waste. If it is in Brother Lin's hands, it will definitely revive the mechanic techniques and display its value. The bronze wolf turned and left. Chapter 87. Honorable Martial Alliances Classic Martial Technique. Rank 7. Honorable Martial Fist. The mechanical beasts of the Lin family were not mass-produced goods, but were personally made by Lin Jiang himself. And the person with the highest authority in these mechanical beasts was Lin Jiang. With Lin Jiang's death, all the mechanical beasts immediately entered the stage of mutual destruction. Kong Yulin's face kept changing, but at this time, all the mechanical beasts' eyes changed from green to red. Break. What's a pity? He can't escape. Bing did not understand, but in his heart he gave full marks to Tang Tian's performance. To be able to make full use of his advantages, to be able to make full use of his intellect as he had previously judged, Tang Tian's battle intelligence was astonishing. Kong Yulin was startled and immediately became interested. Could it be that Brother Lin's mechanical techniques had such a huge breakthrough? This mechanical tiger is very intelligent. Kong Yulin's face turned white. He knew it was going to be troublesome. The enemy's craftiness far exceeded his expectations. If it was ruthless, decisive, and sinister, only those vicious and evil people could do it so ingeniously. But in terms of style, it was indeed the style of the Southern Cross Army that he liked. His face was pale, but as a rank 7 martial artist he did not sit and wait for death. With a loud whistle, the true power in his body surged to the maximum, and a snow-white armor appeared on his body. Bing disapproved of the mechanical beast's strength, but there were too many of them, and now they had entered the stage of mutual destruction. No matter how strong Kong Yulin was, he could not escape. Lin Zhang's heart was burning. Kong Yulin was right. He had always been looking for fierce spirit generals. He had researched on the fusion of martial spirits and mechanical beasts for many years, and only recently had a breakthrough, but he needed a fierce spirit general to succeed. He did not expect Kong Yulin to be so well informed, to actually find out about this. Lin Jiang was secretly shocked by Kong Yulin's methods, but could not help but extend his hand towards the spirit beads. Pu. Seeing the spectacular scene in the sky, Tang Tian and Bing were silent. Kong Yulin was anxious. When he saw Lin Jiang lying in a pool of blood from the corner of his eye, his pupils suddenly dilated. Kong Yulin was battered and exhausted as he rushed out from the huge fireball. Hearing the roars of the mechanical beasts, he immediately knew that he had poked a hornet's nest and his face turned pale. Looking at his fist, Tang Tian was a little depressed as he said in a low voice, "It's a pity that I can't defeat him with my own fist." What he was surprised about was Tang Tian. This guy was simply born to fight. The Tang Tian in battle was like a completely different person, cold, cunning, valiant, ruthless, and flawless. Mechanical beasts could be seen everywhere in the Lin mansion. There were wolf-shaped, tiger-shaped, spider-shaped, and so on. Kong Yulin never thought that it would be snatched away. He only thought that Lin Jiang had created an extremely powerful mechanical beast, which was why he said that. And when Kong Yulin attracted the mechanical beast to attack, Tang Tian was able to immediately grasp the most crucial point and kill Lin Jiang in one move, causing Kong Yulin to fall into a situation of certain death. The bronze tiger in front of him looked a little familiar but also a little unfamiliar. Lin Jiang was obsessed with mechanical beasts, and had created all kinds of mechanical beasts. Seeing this bronze tiger that looked familiar yet foreign, he was stunned for a moment. Countless feathers swept out in all directions like a hurricane. Woo-woo. Once the fist aura left his hand, it was as dazzling as the sun. Kong Yulin took out a black pearl. This is an ancient spirit pearl which I obtained accidentally. Inside there is a fragment of a valiant ancient spirit general. Although it is not a complete ancient spirit general, such a valiant ancient spirit pearl is not commonly seen. I heard that Brother Lin has always been looking for such a spirit pearl. I wonder if this thing can help Brother Lin. Lin Jiang looked at Kong Yulin, quietly waiting for Kong Yulin to reveal the mystery. Suddenly, a bronze tiger claw appeared out of nowhere, and before anyone could react, it grabbed the spirit pearl. The red eyes were breathtaking and the bronze surface of the mechanical beast started to melt. Bing understood the mechanical beasts very well, and also understood how terrifying it was for so many mechanical beasts to carry out a suicide attack. But what was Lin Jiang doing? Everyone stared blankly, unable to react. Balls of flames started to emerge from the joints of the mechanical beasts, and quickly enveloped their entire bodies. Tang Tian did not hide his arrogance in face and the seriousness in his eyes. Kong Yulin laughed lightly. I heard, other than trying to revive the mechanical techniques of the Southern Cross Army, Brother Lin is also very interested in the martial spirit fusion and mechanical techniques. I have something here Brother Lin will definitely be interested. After a moment he stared blankly at the tiger claw protruding from his chest. One by one the balls of flames flew up from the ground, drawing lines of dazzling bright red fire marks, from all directions, pouncing towards Kong Yulin in the sky. Lin Jiang was also stunned. The metal net cover, the bronze arrows upon colliding with the feather hurricane, were instantly crushed into pieces. So when he heard Tang Tian say that it was a pity he felt weird. What a pity! Tang Tian muttered to himself. Bang! The blood on Kong Yulin's face disappeared. Damn it! All the mechanical beasts that were roaming around in the courtyard, all lit up their green eyes, staring at Kong Yulin in the sky. Previously Kong Yulin was not seen as an enemy because he was with Lin Jiang, but when he suddenly flew into the sky and displayed a strong offensive nature, it immediately caused a chain reaction. If he did not look carefully he could clearly feel the terrifying and ferocious qi emitted from the ancient spirit general shard in the spirit pearl from afar. Cygnus Constellation Bronze Rank Armor. Swan Song. The mechanical beasts suddenly exploded in front of him, transforming into a ball of flames. He heaved a sigh of relief. Then a series of whistling sounds, one after another, sounded out like a tidal wave, and one after another figures covered in flames, soared into the sky. Bing, I must become the strongest person. When did I provoke such a person? A few of the mechanical wolves suddenly exerted strength on their hind legs, and pounced towards Kong Yulin in the sky. So. The bronze arrows on the back of the bow and arrow spider like raindrops shot towards Kong Yulin in the sky. The mechanical wolves that leaped into the sky, all shot out a fine metal net towards Kong Yulin. And those mechanical tigers suddenly opened their mouths. Boom boom boom, a thick beam of light shot towards Kong Yulin. Lin Wei stared blankly at Lin Jiang falling into a pool of blood. He was scared stiff. If the target was him just now, gritting his teeth he clenched his fist. The white light on his hand suddenly became more intense. A white fist aura leaving his palm. Brother Lin. Quickly stop the attack. What a ferocious qi. Kong Yulin's face froze, but immediately his face changed. He soared into the sky and pounced towards the mechanical tiger. Kong Yulin forced a smile. Such an agile mechanical beast, I have never seen it before. Lin Jiang. Damn it. He was not sure if he had ever made such a mechanical tiger before. The bronze tiger's next action made everyone stunned on the spot. Tang Tian did not have the slightest bit of reluctance. He retreated without hesitation, and once again mixed into the mechanical beasts. He had heard the entire conversation between Kong Yulin and Lin Jiang, and he hated Lin Jiang to the core. Now that he heard that Lin Jiang was secretly investigating him, and was plotting against the bronze mechanical ostrich, he did not show any mercy. Kong Yulin spat out a mantra, the Swan Song. On his body, suddenly emitted a dazzling white light. The snow-white cloak on his back suddenly exploded. Kong Yulin completely did not expect to receive such a terrifying attack. Lin Jiang, as if awakened from a dream, was about to stop the mechanical beast's attack. Suddenly his body froze. He had already realized his mistake just now. This was the Lin family. He should not have made the first move. The other party used the mechanical beasts to hide his identity, and instead mixed into the mechanical beasts, and his reckless attack immediately caused the mechanical beasts to attack. Pa pa pa. In the sky, Kong Yulin's aura instantly rose to the extreme. He was like a prince from the legends, elegant and calm. Tang Tian controlled the saber-toothed tiger with 4 limbs on the ground, disguised as a mechanical beast, suddenly appearing beside Kong Yulin and Lin Jiang, and plucking the spirit beads, was completely out of his expectations. When the feather hurricane and the light pillar that the mechanical tiger spat out collided, the blazing flames soared into the sky. The most famous killing move of the Lin family's mechanical tigers was the Tiger Roar, which transformed the true power inside the star rocks into blazing flames. The mechanical beasts in the flames had a pair of red eyes, which caused his heart to turn cold. The snow-white feathers were like snowflakes sprinkling down. The exquisite and elegant snow-white armor was like a piece of art. There were flying shoulders like wings, like 2 swans crossing their necks to form a helmet, With exquisite and hollowed-out feather armor layer upon layer, the snow-white cloak. The end of the cloak was actually like a burning white flame. Every spark that floated down would transform into snow-white feathers. One of the mechanical beasts that was enveloped in flames roared, suddenly exerted strength on its four limbs, and fiercely pounced towards Kong Yulin, who was in the sky. Kong Yulin only felt a ball of flames. Its momentum was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye it had rushed in front of him, the blazing heat wave assaulting his face. I don't know why, but I hate the feeling of being weaker than others more and more. This feeling is so terrible, it makes me hate it. Lin Jiang laughed. Brother Kong, don't keep me in suspense. Or was it a strong enemy that the Lin family had invited and he just happened to be there? The bronze tiger threw the spirit bead in its claws, directly into its mouth, and turned to mix into the mechanical beasts. Lin Jiang suddenly reacted, his face changed, and exclaimed, "Quickly, Chase. That is someone impersonating it." "But father, that is obviously a mechanical beast." Lin Wei did not understand. Lin Jiang's eyes suddenly blazed, staring intently at the spirit bead in Kong Yulin's hand. One after another, the roars of the mechanical beasts sounded out from every corner of the Lin family. One after another, strong and vigorous beast silhouettes, like a tide, converged. There was only one person who could solve this problem. Who? Southern Army. Saber-toothed tiger. Kong Yulin's palm was enveloped in a ball of gentle white light in the sky. There was not a single shadow of his hand. Rank 7 Martial Technique. Scattered hands of the Honorable Martial Technique. His fingers were extremely agile, flicking, pointing, swinging, slapping one after another. White scattered handprints, like pieces of feathers, swept across the sky. They looked light and weak, but when those hard bronze arrows touched the scattered handprints, they immediately shattered. Woo. Chapter 88. The training spirit device beneath his feet suddenly lit up. In the midst of the chaos, Tang Tian quietly returned to the army encampment from the martial spirit chamber, and then returned to the energy crack. Although he had not officially crossed swords with Liang Qiu, but Liang Qiu already did not have the confidence to win against a Maori. The chefs have already changed 3 times. Han Bingning said coldly, "Don't cause more trouble for the logistics." I want to participate in the competition. I want to go to Rainbow City." A Maori raised both his arms. I can fight with Fundamental Tang again. This time I want to defeat Fundamental Tang and let him see my recent improvements. Tang Tian saw that no matter how he provoked Bing was indifferent, and could only retreat to the side and start to train his true power. "Are you ready?" Bing looked at Tang Tian and said seriously, "The process of refining the spirit will be extremely painful, but no matter how painful it is, you must bear with it." Tang Tian's body was different, all kinds of abnormal made them deeply understand. Although their improvements were very obvious, but with Tang Tian's previous perverse ways, no one believed that he would improve less than them. Even if Tang Tian's conditions were far from their outer barracks, but since when did Tang Tian have the same conditions as them? "Tomorrow. Rest for a day. Tomorrow, when your condition has recovered, we will start again." Bing did not agree. "After a period of time, the minister will be going to Rainbow City." Liang Qiu raised a cup of green tea and said slowly, "I heard that there will be many people from other divisions coming. The minister has already decided to use the competition to select the people who will follow him. There are 8 newcomers, and they will be selected from all the newcomer barracks at Immortal Constellation Mountain." Tang Tian grinned, revealing his snow-white teeth. "Come on." Liang Qiu picked up a green vegetable, put it in his mouth and ate it patiently, then said slowly, "Tang Tian's improvement is definitely very fast. The outer barracks will not have any pressure for him." Tang Tian quickly stood on the bronze platform. Liang Qiu, who had just finished nibbling on another piece of vegetable, also looked over. "I don't want to either. Besides, I think their vegetarian food is pretty good." Will the outer camps participate?" "Fundamental Tang will definitely participate." A Maori immediately put down his plate. "Then you will have to endure pain that no one else can," Bing said meaningfully. Tang Tian looked at Bing tormenting the training spirit device. "I wonder how Fundamental Tang is doing now." A Maori grumbled. He desperately dug into his food. His plate was proportionate to his body size. He was 3 sizes bigger than the others. Amaury picked up the plate and poured the food into his mouth. His mouth was like a bottomless pit. The mountain of food quickly disappeared. He stood up, unsatisfied. I'll go get another portion. I like this batch of chefs. They cook a lot of meat. It's always enough for me to eat. Sima Xianxia fussily fiddled with the food on his plate. The food in the canteen is getting worse. The veal is not marinated. The vegetables are too cooked. The seasoning is too strong. The salt is also too much. I've decided to have a talk with them tonight. Sima Xianxia frowned. He picked up a piece of vegetable and threw it into his mouth. Bing's eyes twitched. This evil fellow. But thinking about the suffering that Tang Tian would have to endure tomorrow, he calmed down. Hee, young man, tomorrow you will know what it means to live a life worse than death. Stamina is really an old man's weakness. Tang Tian muttered. Hey Uncle Bing. Training spirit device. Training spirit device. Let's start. Tang Tian was determined on his goal. He threw the battle to the back of his mind and said eagerly. Panicked silhouettes soared from every corner of the Lin family. Stepping on the roofs, they frantically activated their light body techniques and flew towards the main residence. The world quietened down. There was nothing in the sky. The blue sky was clear. It was as though nothing had happened. Kong Yulin, who was dressed in the swan song, was as elegant as a prince. He was so strong that it caused people's hearts to palpitate. It was as though he was erased from the sky. Once the training spirit device was placed on the ground, a series of pa-pa-pa sounds could be heard. All sorts of bronze parts kept popping out from the disc and pierced into the ground. Bing looked at Tang Tian. The young man's eyes shone with anticipation and seriousness. He suddenly remembered what Tang Tian said before. Everyone was a little curious. Hey Uncle Bing. What's the use of the spirit pearl? He asked curiously. If not for their numbers and suicidal attacks, the mechanical beast would not have been able to pose a threat to Kong Yulin. Even though he was far away, Tang Tian could clearly feel the danger coming from the rank 7 martial technique's powerful and condensed true power. Sima Xianxia shook his head and sighed. All right. What a pity. Seems like I can only go out and kidnap a better chef. The training spirit device that had grown a lot bigger was like a small bronze platform. No one noticed that amidst the panicking silhouettes, an unremarkable young man quietly slipped out of the Lin family. Liang Qiu, who had always been a vegetarian, was the first to finish eating. Han Bingning also finished very quickly. Amaury was struggling with his 4th plate of food. One by one the bronze parts popped out. In the blink of an eye, it had grown a few times bigger. The small training spirit device was like a bronze rose that had bloomed in an instant. Don't worry, uncle. I'm a godlike young man. Tang Tian did not even think. He blurted out. The man destined to become the world's strongest martial artist. He's long gone. Sima Xianxia said faintly. I don't want to go without food for a few days. Han Bingning put down his chopsticks and looked coldly at Sima Xianxia. In the sky there was a huge ball of fire burning. Stand on it, Bing said to Tang Tian. Bing glanced at him. Give it to Sai Lei. He should be useful. After a short period of silence, the Lin family was in a state of panic. Such a terrifying scene actually happened in the Lin family. What just happened? Rainbow City. Han Bingning's eyes lit up. Miss Jie is on Rainbow City. An unprecedented explosion sounded. Suddenly, a blazing light aura exploded like the sun. The world was as bright as snow. The ground beneath Tang Tian's feet trembled. The shock wave was like a hurricane. It wreaked havoc everywhere. Everywhere it passed, the houses crumbled like paper. The training spirit device was a bronze plate with a diameter of about 10 centimeters. The plate was carved with countless complicated patterns. Bing first walked around the cliff. Finally, he found a place where the energy was more concentrated. He put the training spirit device down. It's very possible. Liang Qiu said. It is said that the management of the outer barracks is lax. Tang Tian is afraid that he will not be able to control himself. He will definitely find Jie Shangguan. The light aura dispersed. The shock wave dissipated. Han Bingning ate quietly. He did not make a sound. Even if he controlled the saber-toothed tiger, he would not be Kong Yulin's opponent. Amaury kept stuffing food into his mouth. He mumbled, I think it's delicious. rays of fiery flowing light enveloped the mechanical beasts. Like a rainstorm, they soared into the sky and rushed towards the huge ball of fire in the sky. Every time the fiery flowing light entered the ball of fire, it would cause the explosion to become more intense. The sound of the explosion was incessant. Tang Tian thought of his spoils of war. He took out the spirit pearl from his bosom. Wait for what tomorrow? Let's start now. Godlike young lad, full of energy, why would he need to rest? Tang Tian mumbled unhappily. Or should I just kill them? Sima Xianxia said faintly. I know. Tang Tian retracted the smile on his face. He said in a deep voice. After about an hour, Tang Tian opened his eyes. The true power in his body had completely recovered. As expected of the energy crevice. The efficiency of training true power here was astonishing. Tang Tian could clearly feel the improvement of the true power in his body. He did not know if it was because of the battle that he had just experienced. The improvement of his true power was much more obvious than usual. The patriarch was dead. Returning to the energy crevice, seeing the energy balls spewing out continuously from the depths of the crevice, Tang Tian's eyes flashed a ray of light. From the start to the end he did not cross hands with Kong Yulin. But Kong Yulin's strength had left an unerasable mark on him. The faces of the higher-ups of the Lin family changed. Disbelief surfaced on their faces. They knew that only under what circumstances would the mechanical beasts unleash their suicidal attacks. Thinking about meeting Tang Tian in Rainbow City, everyone's spirits were roused. They were filled with anticipation for the trip to Rainbow City. Such a good opportunity, they actually missed it. Defeating a 7th-level martial artist was a glorious battle achievement. It was not something that could be obtained just because one wanted to. The Lin family did not plunder anything. Kong Yulin did not even leave a scrap behind. His beautiful armor had also turned into ashes. What a pity. Inside the exploding ball of fire, Kong Yulin's unresigned roar could be heard. Bang bang bang. On the bronze platform there were countless of intricate patterns. Between these patterns there was a faint luster flowing. The indignant Tang Tian could only continue to train. The entire Three-Spirit City was completely shaken. Countless experts leapt onto the roofs and other high places to watch from afar. And those experts who had good relations with the Lin family immediately flew over to help. Among the 4 of them, a Maori was viewed as the one who had the highest possibility of defeating Tang Tian. The others were not surprised. If they were to meet the abnormal Tang again, how strong would he be? Bang! The improvement of the 4 of them was extremely rapid. Among this batch of newcomers they were outstanding. It was because of their existence that this batch of newcomers was hailed as the strongest batch of newcomers in the history of Immortal Constellation Mountain. But among the few of them, the one who improved the fastest was not Sima Xiangshan, nor was it Han Bingning or Liang Qiu. It was a Maori. This was where this guy was truly abnormal. You must remember. Bing said word by word, the more pain you can endure, the greater your achievements will be. You don't need to rest. I still need to rest. Bing did not even look at Tang Tian. He minded his own business and floated to a corner, closing his eyes. This guy's improvement speed was shocking. The instructors in charge of training the newcomers even made an exception for a Maori. All kinds of treatment even made Sima Xiangshan and the rest jealous. A Maori who received the focus of attention improved at an even more shocking speed. He was like a runaway wild horse that could not be pulled back. Tang Tian was slightly disappointed. So it was something used by a mechanical engineer. He casually threw it into his Aquarius martial cabinet. The only spoils of war was actually something that he could not use. Tang Tian was suddenly regretful. He should have taken advantage of the chaos to plunder the Lin family. Chapter 89. Uncle Bing's persuasive voice drilled into Tang Tian's ears. He did not know if it was because of Uncle Bing's hypnosis or because he had really refined it, but Tang Tian felt that it was not as painful as before. Give up? No, I don't want to give up. How can I give up? How can I? Never. Even if I die, I will never. Bing stared at Tang Tian's martial spirit in the spirit cultivation flame. When he saw Tang Tian's martial spirit gradually becoming translucent, his eyes flashed with excitement. He was still talking non-stop. It had already been half an hour. In other words, this spirit cultivation flame was about to break through to the 4th level. The last 4 words were shouted out by the excited Bing with all his might. Bing, who had experienced it personally, knew more than others. At this stage, the spirit cultivation flame would become unstable, and it would gradually shrink towards the center. The energy that was spewing out from the energy crack was not high level, but it would continue to shrink and it would break the 4th level barrier of the energy. Tang Tian lowered his head and looked curiously at the cold flame that was spewing out from the training spirit device. Wait a minute, that was where Tang Tian was training. Bing encouraged Tang Tian as he continuously pointed at the spirit nucleus and flicked it into the spirit cultivation flame. Tang Tian's martial spirit was growing rapidly, and the stronger the martial spirit, the more attractive it was. The energy around Tang Tian seemed to have gone crazy and surged towards him like a tide. Tang Tian's expression congealed. Once I throw it down, it will fail? I want to be the strongest man. Tang Tian. He was close to the edge of collapse. Wave after wave of attacks, his defense was on the verge of collapse. The impurities were quickly refined and only a pure martial spirit was left. You can achieve your dream. 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. Tang Tian's body was trembling non-stop. The astonishing pain was even more violent than before, and the frequency was even higher. Are you willing? Have you forgotten your dream? Have you forgotten the oath you made? Have you forgotten that you want to be the strongest? Bing controlled the speed of his speech. He tried his best to speak slowly so that Tang Tian would not feel the flow of time. You've had ample rest. We're about to start a new round of tempering. This isn't a problem for you at all. Alright, just like before, attract another portion of the soul refinement flame. An hour passed. But this time, Tang Tian had reached the end of his rope. His body began to tremble more frequently, and the pain on his face became even more obvious. His face began to turn pale. Bing's hands were filled with spirit nuclei. Other than the ones that Tang Tian had accumulated previously, there were also some that he had plundered from the corpses in the base. Bing flicked his finger, and a spirit nucleus entered the spirit cultivation flame. In the blink of an eye, the silver frost was dyed, and the silver flames carried a biting cold intent. Tang Tian, have you forgotten all the ridicule you've endured all these years? That's right. Alright, you can feel that your martial soul is becoming stronger. Continue to attract the spirit cultivation flame. Bing's expression became more and more anxious. There were still 10 minutes to 2 hours. The Southern Cross Army's record was set by Bing in 2 hours. The spirit cultivation flame's fireball expanded. The higher the grade of the spirit cultivation flame, the more thorough the tempering of the martial soul would be. The greatest use of the spirit cultivation device is to convert energy into flames that can temper the martial soul. This type of flame is called the spirit cultivation flame. Bing said indifferently, you've already condensed the martial soul. You can now try to use the martial soul to support the spirit cultivation flame. Bing's voice in Tang Tian's ears became fleeting and fuzzy, sometimes near and far. Tang Tian no longer had the strength to listen to Bing. Bing gritted his teeth and roared with all his might. His fists were also clenched tightly. His gaze was fixed on Tang Tian. After roaring, Bing suddenly felt as though his entire body was drained of energy. He actually felt tired. Then you can complete your oath. The intense pain continuously attacked Tang Tian. His brain felt as though it was being roasted on a fire. The pain became more and more intense. It was so intense that he needed to use all his strength. That's right, he really used all his strength to hold on. Do you want to give up? He took a deep breath and suddenly roared, Tang Tian. Bing quivered. This was not the time to be distracted. He knew once he broke through 2 hours, every second after that would be extremely precious. Every second now would be worth 100-fold in the years to come. He actually held on for 2 hours. The spirit cultivation flame had already grown to the size of a table. Tang Tian's martial soul was completely enveloped by the spirit cultivation flame. Steady. No matter how painful it is, you must steady. The color of the spirit cultivation flame had completely turned green. Bing's expression was extremely anxious. 2 hours and 3 minutes. Very quickly, a translucent palm appeared on top of Tang Tian's head. Are you willing? Very good. Well done. You are starting to adapt. Your martial soul has become even purer. The moment the spirit cultivation flame landed on the translucent palm, Tang Tian felt a piercing pain in his brain. Tang Tian could not help but groan. The palm formed by the spirit cultivation flame trembled. The spirit cultivation flame almost fell off. Tang Tian reacted quickly. He immediately concentrated and held his breath. He stabilized the spirit cultivation flame. As expected, following the change of his thoughts, the flame-like martial soul slowly changed its shape. The green color of the spirit cultivation flame continued to deepen. Tang Tian, are you willing to give up just like that? You can definitely do it. Tang Tian's brain started to blur. There was a limit to the amount of pain that anyone could endure. He followed Bing's instructions mechanically. He continued to attract the spirit cultivation flame. Round after round. He completely did not know how long he had been cultivating. The piercing pain caused his brain to go blank. He could even clearly feel that the palm formed from his martial soul sizzled as it was burned by the soul refinement flame. The martial soul and the mind were connected. This kind of pain went straight to the mind. There was no way to escape. But he could not escape. He could not be distracted. Not only could he not be distracted, he had to concentrate. The pain of the martial soul was even more intense. That's right. Bing looked at Tang Tian. Let's begin. The color of the spirit cultivation flame started to change. The blue light started to turn green. The palm slowly floated to Tang Tian's feet. The spirit cultivation flame on the training spirit device seemed to be attracted. It floated to the translucent palm. How could he give up? Tang Tian curiously looked at the rays of light. They floated to the training spirit device. Bing's expression was calm. But his heart was in turmoil. 2 hours. Tang Tian was actually able to hold on for 2 hours, this arrogant and self-righteous fellow. Tang Tian closed his eyes. He focused all his attention on the martial soul. This was the first time Tang Tian was so focused on observing his own martial soul. His martial soul was a dim flame. It looked like it could be extinguished any time. Following Bing's method, Tang Tian started to imagine the martial soul as a palm. A surge of energy came out of nowhere. Under the intense pain, Tang Tian's face contorted. The corners of his mouth curled up. It was a wild and untamed smile. It looked extremely ugly. You can be the strongest man. 2 hours. In the army back then, no one else had achieved that. Come on, godlike young man. Tang Tian, have you forgotten the taste of failure? Tang Tian, who was under the fireball, stopped. The color of the spirit cultivation flame turned green. It was a deep green like bronze. The cold aura disappeared. What replaced it was ferocious killing intent. All the energy in the radius of 200 feet were attracted. Like snowflakes in a gale, they were sucked into the spirit cultivation flame. 2 hours. Good. You will slowly get used to the pain. Do you feel less pain now? Because a portion of the impurities in your martial soul have been refined. The energy continued to enter the spirit cultivation device. The spirit cultivation device shone brightly. Suddenly, bang! A flame emerged from the spirit cultivation device. Tang Tian was shocked by the flames that appeared under his feet, but he quickly calmed down because the flames under his feet were unexpectedly not scorching. Following Bing's instructions, Tang Tian carefully summoned another wisp of spirit cultivation flame. Sizzle! Tang Tian's mind trembled. The indescribable pain was like an awl piercing into his brain. Good. You did well. You have taken the most crucial step. Next, you need to control your martial soul. Attract another portion of the spirit cultivation flame. Not too much. We will do it step by step. Bing's calm voice gave people a strong sense of security. Tang Tian quickly calmed down. Tang Tian's martial soul trembled again. Jing Hao turned pale with fright. He ran with all his might. When he saw the scene in front of him, he was rooted to the ground. Are you willing to give up like this? With a crackling sound, the green spirit cultivation flame became a deep green. The color became darker until it was pitch black. The spirit cultivation flame had shrunk to the size of a bamboo basket. Suddenly, a silver light exploded from the flame. But Tang Tian's mind was filled with those few sentences. Focus your attention on your martial soul. Imagine your martial soul. Like a palm holding up the spirit cultivation flame. Bing's tone became serious. The first time you touch the spirit cultivation flame, it will be very painful. But you must remember, no matter how painful it is, you cannot throw the spirit cultivation flame away. Once you throw it away, you will be a complete failure. Tang Tian's face contorted. How is that possible? Give up? Bing's whisper could not be heard. Tang Tian. Bing took a deep breath. Just 10 minutes. Just hold on for another 10 minutes. The last 10 minutes. Hold up the spirit cultivation flame? Tang Tian was stunned. How do I hold it up? Tang Tian. Have you forgotten the time when you were powerless to change anything? Tang Tian's body froze. Then his body started to tremble violently. His pale face had a tinge of blood. His fists were clenched tightly. Tang Tian's martial soul immediately sensed the pure martial soul. He subconsciously swallowed it. Bing's attention was highly concentrated. His eyes never left Tang Tian. I am a godlike young man. How can I give up? Under the dense silver flame, the young man's figure was unyielding. Tang Tian's body trembled even more. He was shaking like a sieve. He could collapse any time. The spirit cultivation device lit up with a faint light. The energy that was spewing out from the crack was attracted by the spirit cultivation device. All of them floated towards the device. The energy in the entire crack was stirred. Jing Hao was alarmed. In his shocked gaze, the energy that filled the sky turned into tens of thousands of blue lights. All of them converged in one direction. The energy in the radius of 30 meters was like a shark that smelled blood. It frantically floated towards the fire on top of Tang Tian's head. The spirit cultivation flame became more and more intense. Chapter 90. After an unknown period of time, Tang Tian slowly woke up. Jing Hao was overjoyed. Without saying a word, he took out 3 golden cards and quickly stuffed them into Tang Tian's hands. He looked as though he was afraid that Tang Tian would go back on his words. Bing felt as though he was about to spit out a mouthful of blood. He resisted the urge to slap this annoying face. This spirit general looked very strange, especially his face. It was as flat as a piece of paper. The facial features on his face looked as though they were painted on. It was the first time Jing Hao saw such a strange spirit general. But he did not dare to belittle it. This spirit general emitted a killing intent that was as solid as a needle, piercing straight to the bottom of his heart. He was like a reef in the raging waves. No matter how big the waves were, he would not budge. Jing Hao saw that Tang Tian had woken up. He was excited. Congratulations. To be able to cultivate a silver martial spirit with a 4th level body, Brother Tang is the first. Your future is limitless. The number of orbs kept increasing. The difficulty continued to increase. Jing Hao's heart was secretly in awe. This spirit general's strength actually made him feel that he was unfathomable. His teacher did not explain in detail what the silver martial spirit did. But he could tell that the silver martial spirit definitely had its unique points. What made him feel even more inconceivable was that Tang Tian was only at the 4th level, but he had already condensed a martial spirit. Now with his 4th level strength he had condensed a silver martial spirit. If he did not see it with his own eyes, he would definitely not believe it. Jing Hao quickly ran over and carefully picked up the training soul tool on the ground. Jing Hao was also relieved. Tang Tian's spirit general automatically protected its owner. That meant that Tang Tian would not have too big of a problem. He was just secretly surprised that Tang Tian actually had such a strong spirit general. Usually he did not reveal any traces of it. It seemed that Tang Tian's background was not that simple. However, Jing Hao quickly felt happy. Tang Tian had already been accepted into their sect. The stronger Tang Tian was, the more extraordinary his background was, the better it was. Don't bicker with this crazy youth. Don't bicker with this crazy youth. Bing took the initiative to retreat, and Jing Hao felt the pressure on him lessen. He heaved a sigh of relief, but his heart was filled with shock. Other than his teacher, no one else gave him such a huge pressure. But logically speaking, a spirit general's level cannot be higher than its master's by 1 level. Jing Hao was startled. With a tap of his foot he charged towards Tang Tian. Jing Hao's position in the Honorable Martial Alliance was mostly because of his teacher. Although his strength was good, he still needed time to accumulate because of his age. But to be able to pull in strong reinforcements, it would help stabilize his position in the Honorable Martial Group in the faction. Furthermore, Tang Tian understood tacitly and said, I don't know what the price is. Big brother Jing Hao, just give it as you see fit. Jing Hao felt that he could not see through Tang Tian and his spirit general. He secretly shook his head and threw this question to the back of his head. He looked at Tang Tian with a burning gaze and said, "Brother Tang, I wonder if this weapon is it a training spirit weapon? Only half an hour faster than you." Tang Tian's face was full of disappointment. Bing's thick eyebrows twitched twice. He knew that this brat was definitely a villain intoxicated by success. Silver-ranked spirit general. Tang Tian looked up and his tone was filled with deep regret. "Only half an hour faster than you, it completely does not reflect my power." When Tang Tian woke up, he saw Bing guarding in front of him and Jing Hao who was far away. His heart warmed. As expected, Uncle Bing was still reliable. Tang Tian was calm from start to finish. After 20 minutes, he did not show any signs of fatigue. "Then I shall not disturb Brother Tang's training anymore." Jing Hao hurriedly said his goodbyes. Jing Hao's face became even more joyous. "Then I wonder if Brother Tang can part with it?" He hurriedly added, "What price is it, Brother Tang? Feel free to tell me. If I can't make the decision, I will report it to my teacher." "You can promise?" Bing, who was behind Tang Tian, said quietly. Tang Tian felt that he had become abnormally sensitive to everything around him. The feeling of revenge was indeed great. "Brother Tang, don't worry. Teacher's news will come soon," Jing Hao added, and he stared at the training spirit weapon. Tang Tian was slightly moved. As expected of a gold-grade card. The light balls were like rain and the density gradually rose to a shocking level, causing people's scalps to go numb. Tang Tian was shocked. Gold-grade card. The quality of the gold-grade card was quite different from the silver-grade card. The 3 cards looked very light, but they were very heavy in his hands. Caressing the 3 cards, an indescribable feeling entered his heart. The unruly and stubborn figure of the young man, like a wooden stake, fell straight down, stirring up a cloud of dust. "Ah!" Tang Tian's screams were drowned out by the overwhelming light balls. "Alu, speaking of which, the standard of your army is very poor. I easily took 2.5 hours. If that's the case, wow, I'm so powerful. As expected of a godlike young man. With my own strength, I defeated the entire Southern Cross army." "What?" Jing Hao's face revealed his joy. Although he tried to suppress it, the joy in his eyes was still clearly visible. "I did not expect Brother Tang to have such a magical weapon. I heard that this item can only be used once for each person." Tang Tian actually grasped the technique of tempering the martial spirit. "I need to have a good talk with Tang Tian later." The sky was full of light balls like raindrops, but Tang Tian's defense was impenetrable. Tang Tian immediately said without hesitation, "Okay." Teacher once said, once you break through to the silver martial spirit, the strength of the martial spirit will gradually become apparent. Behind Tang Tian, Bing said quietly with an ant's voice, "There's no harm in telling him." He crawled up, "Hey Uncle Bing," and greeted Jing Hao, "Big brother Jing Hao." Jing Hao saw that Tang Tian was interested and relaxed. "This is a set of gold-grade cards left behind by a senior. It's a set of 3 cards and it gathers the senior's 3 best martial techniques. They are Great Monument Palm, Tente, and Scattering Vortex. Rank 5, very suitable for Brother Tang. As for the other rewards, teacher will send them over soon." He did not expect that he would see it. "I'm not hostile." Jing Hao took a step back and stared at the spirit general in front of him. Seeing that Jing Hao's figure disappeared, Tang Tian asked Bing curiously, "Is it all right to give him the training spirit device?" Jing Hao did not expect Tang Tian to kick the ball back to him. He was honest, and this time he was in a difficult position and said, "I can't estimate the value of the training spirit device. How about this? I'll use a set of gold-grade cards as a deposit, and the rest of the rewards will be given by my teacher. I wonder if that's all right." "Brother Tang, don't worry, my teacher is an upright person, and definitely not someone who takes advantage of others." Imagining that Tang Tian's intuition was already abnormally sharp, and his intuition was strengthened by 5 times, and Jing Hao decided once he traded for the training spirit device he would give it to his teacher. Jing Hao knew that his position in the group was not high enough, and if he handed it over to the group, the rewards he would receive would be much lesser. His teacher was different and the rewards he could receive would definitely be astonishing. As long as his teacher could gain a foothold in the group, the benefits he would receive would definitely not be small. Hearing that, Tang Tian was relieved and suddenly thought of a question and hurriedly asked, "How long did I hold on?" That was scary. Although Jing Hao was not a scheming person, he was not stupid. He did not have the intention to snatch it. The spirit general in front of Tang Tian was very strong, and their sect was relatively gentle. When faced with such a situation, they would usually choose to trade. According to what he knew, the training spirit device could only be used once. To Tang Tian, this training spirit device was already useless. And he had enough confidence that he could trade for it, and with his teacher, his foundation was much thicker than the average person. Bing continued to recite in his heart, "Don't be calculative with him, don't be calculative with him, so strong." Tang Tian's defense finally fell. A ball of light hit his wrist. After laughing, Bing could not calm down. 5 times. The difficulty of taking a beating training increased by 5 times, and only then did he break through Tang Tian's defense. And this was Tang Tian's first training after his breakthrough. When Tang Tian started to adapt to the increase in his intuition, he could definitely hold on for a longer time. Recruit training camp, taking a beating training. Tempering the martial spirit. Seeing that Tang Tian had woken up, Bing's face did not change and floated to Tang Tian's back. Jing Hao's gaze was blazing, staring at the training spirit device on the ground. For Tang Tian to be able to cultivate the silver martial spirit, it must be because of this thing. Legend has it, during the era of the 3 big armies, the Southern Cross Army had something similar. The Honorable Martial Group invested a lot in this, and many people thought of ways to restore this divine device. But until now, no one had been able to restore it. A strange spirit general blocked his way. After cultivating the silver martial spirit, his intuition had increased to an unimaginable level. Bing laughed sinisterly. This was what Jing Hao was truly envious of. His teacher had imparted to him the method of cultivating the martial spirit a long time ago, and warned him repeatedly that he must definitely cultivate the martial spirit well. Jing Hao did not relax at all, but until now he was still a bronze martial spirit. Jing Hao was very clear how difficult it was to cultivate the martial spirit, and the silver martial spirit to him was very far away. Bing still had something to say. Not everyone could be as abnormal as Tang Tian. Just now, when the silver flames dissipated, a strand of the martial spirit entered Tang Tian's body. Jing Hao saw clearly that strand of martial spirit, although it did not materialize, but it was suffused with silver light. "Half an hour faster than me." Bing played it down. Just now, the entire energy crevice's energy mass was stirred with astonishing power. Even now, when he thought about it, his mind could not help but tremble. Tang Tian was immensely proud, beaming with joy. Bing repeated it over and over in his heart. Tang Tian immediately knew and nodded. "That's right, this is the Southern Cross Army's training spirit device. It's that thing, that's right." Tang Tian nodded. Tang Tian grinned and waved his hand. "I believe in Big Brother Jing Hao, now it belongs to Big Brother Jing Hao." His gaze was fixated on the training spirit device on the ground. Bing whispered, "You do as you see fit." Tang Tian also wanted to see how much he had improved and said, "Big Brother Jing Hao, please go ahead." His expression was calm, without the slightest bit of his usual wretchedness. His movements were smooth like flowing water. His attack speed did not increase obviously, but every movement was just right. The training difficulty now had already been raised to twice the difficulty of Tang Tian's usual training. Shua, a figure flashed, a biting cold killing intent, rushed straight at him. Jing Hao's hair suddenly stood. He hurriedly stopped his body. The spirit general did not say a word, but the killing intent did not dissipate at all. Under Jing Hao's shocked gaze, the silver flames suddenly exploded, and became a sky full of silver rain. "No problem," Bing said indifferently. "Actually, the use of the training spirit device is very limited. In the past army, it was only a very ordinary mechanism. Because to anyone it can only be used once." Chapter 91. Tang Tian laughed. "I still have a long way to go. Fist techniques, palm techniques, finger techniques, joint techniques, etc. He had to solve them himself. So powerful it can actually change color." Tang Tian exclaimed as he activated the honorable plate. The honorable plate was like a treasure, able to connect with the martial spirit. Tang Tian felt the scenery in front of him change. "Kong Yu." Tang Tian subconsciously replied. Tang Tian knew Jing Hao was doing it for his own good and immediately nodded. "I won't be rash." In a moment, Tang Tian determined the value of this item. Training true power was a painstaking effort. 15% might not seem like much, but after accumulating for a long time, the amount would be shocking. Tang Tian saw Jing Hao coming over and stopped. Big brother Jing Hao. Jing Hao shook his head and laughed bitterly. Of course it's a lot like me, I only have 700 points. Is 5,000 points a lot? Tang Tian became spirited. Take back that thought. Tang Tian's eyes widened, his heart bleeding. A silver grade armor that was a silver grade armor, and it flew away just like that. He did not even get to see it. Actually, it was not only the joint techniques. The honorable martial alliance was indeed strong. This was Tang Tian's first time training the gold grade card and silver grade card. What was the difference? He could not wait to use the gold grade card. Concussion punch. Bing. After 3 days, Jing Hao came over again. His attitude towards Tang Tian was completely different from before. If it was said that he had the feeling of a big brother leading a little brother before, now he was completely on the same level. There were all sorts of strange things, and every item's required points were marked. Most of them were treasures, spirit nuclei and spirit cards. Tang Tian was interested in spirit cards. He already had a few treasures in his hands, it was enough. On the other hand, his spirit cards, especially rank 4 martial techniques, were still lacking a lot. Tang Tian quickly found the exchange meeting, and a list of items appeared in front of him. This is the silver grade treasure of Xianxia constellation, called the Xianxia necklace. Xianxia constellation is a small constellation, but this treasure is a very useful treasure. Jing Hao's words were filled with envy. Teacher heard that Brother Tang's true power is only at the 4th level and specially picked the Xianxia necklace. The Xianxia necklace is an air pump. It can continuously absorb energy from the surroundings, and can increase the energy concentration in the surroundings by 15%. Tang Tian suddenly thought of his honorable martial plate. Jing Hao had mentioned that he could buy things with points, so he immediately took it out. Concussion punch, moon blade, tyrant, angry finger, and stained fall. However, the prices of these cards were not expensive. Rank 5 silver grade cards, most of them only required 100 points. Tang Tian saw a rank 5 gold grade card that only required 500 points. When he thought of his 5,000 points, Tang Tian felt very proud. After listening to Jing Hao's introduction, Tang Tian immediately beamed with joy. He quickly took the pump necklace and put it around his neck. Jing Hao's expression was solemn. Although Kong Yulin is a practical person, his strength is not weak. Not only did he have a cultivation of the 7th stage, he also had the Swan's Song armor. This set of armor is in no way inferior to your blue peacock. I didn't expect it to be plotted against. Until now, the martial group was still investigating. His sister, Kong Yu, who is also the branch head of Immortal Constellation Mountain, swore to avenge her brother. Soon the other party replied, yes. However, Jing Hao's expression quickly turned serious. There is something I should tell you. Kong Yulin is dead. Good. Jing Hao nodded. As long as you don't provoke her, she can't do anything to you. Humph, the power of our faction isn't something that a trifling Kong family can provoke. Train well and break through to the 5th level soon. After reminding him, Jing Hao then left. Before he left, he glanced at Bing. Jing Hao specially asked his teacher, but his teacher had never heard of such a weird spirit general. When the honorable plate was taken out, he exclaimed in surprise. The honorable plate that looked like black iron was now bronze in color. Although Jing Hao was envious when he saw Tang Tian's uncontrollable joy, he could not help but laugh out loud. Yes. Teacher said, although the blue peacock is not famous, it has huge potential and there is room for growth. If used well, its power is not inferior to a normal silver armor. So teacher hopes that Brother Tang can cherish it. Thinking about this, teacher decided to give a treasure that he used in the past to Brother Tang. This is the reward of the martial group. Brother Tang can check your honorable plate and you will see it. Jing Hao said. This time the one who benefited the most was my teacher. My teacher is very grateful to Brother Tang. Originally, he wanted to give a set of silver armor to Brother Tang, but after knowing that Brother Tang had inherited the blue peacock from Senior Ghost Claw Nong, he changed his mind. After finding a direction, Tang Tian immersed himself in training. Concussion Fist and Minute Collapsing Fist had some similarities, and Tang Tian felt that it was suitable for him. Crescent Palm Blade was a variation of palm arts. The palm was like a crescent blade. Tyrant's angry finger was a very firm and ferocious finger art, and its power was strong. And staining fall was a rather powerful joint technique. As long as he stuck close to the enemy, the slightest change in the enemy's power would allow him to react quickly. Tang Tian asked Bing. Hey uncle, how strong is a level 8 martial artist? Tang Tian was immersed in training. He had never felt so contented before and was unable to extricate himself. Is it that exaggerated? Tang Tian exclaimed with an exaggerated expression, but very quickly he rubbed his chin. Seems like I can't slack off. He flipped through the cards, but very quickly he realized all these spirit cards were not lower than level 6. After thinking about it, he understood. Only bronze martial artists could enter the redemption meeting, and their ranks would not be lower than level 6. Naturally, no one would want a level 4 card. Any type of martial technique when trained to a profound level would definitely be the same. Uncle Bing said his power was still too weak, so the true power of the silver martial spirit could not be unleashed. But with his intuition increasing by more than 5 times, it still allowed Tang Tian's power to soar. He trained tirelessly until Uncle Bing reminded him the time for this hardship training was up. After Jing Hao finished speaking, he took out a silver necklace. On the necklace was a shiny silver cylindrical object. After obtaining 4 gold cards, Tang Tian was extremely excited. Although he spent 800 points, he did not feel the slightest bit of heartache. These points came easily, and Tang Tian did not know how precious these points were. Jing Hao had been in the Honorable Martial Alliance for so long, and it was only 700 points. The points that Tang Tian spent today was more than Jing Hao's entire net worth. Not long after, as expected, Tang Tian found a few rank 4 gold grade cards at the exchange gathering. Each card only cost 200 points. Tang Tian picked 4 gold cards in one go. Yes, she has already broken through to the 8th level. Jing Hao warned, I know she has some conflict with you, but you must not clash with her now. The power of a level 8 martial artist is hard for you to imagine. The gap between a silver martial artist and a bronze martial artist is simply insurmountable, and this is the difference in power. The reason why I am telling you this is because the martial group will be holding a meeting at Baihong Constellation, and you might meet her there. Returning to the crevice, he continued his training. The joint technique was a niche martial technique, while the staining fall was an extremely famous technique. It was not like other martial techniques where the levels were clearly defined. In fact, its power would follow the increase of the martial artist's true power, and increase by a large margin. That also meant until the 6th level Tang Tian did not need to train in a new joint technique. Jing Hao could not hide the joy on his face and laughed. Brother Tang is really hardworking. First, I have to tell Brother Tang a piece of good news. The higher-ups have decided to raise Brother Tang's level by 1, from an iron-ranked martial artist to a bronze-ranked martial artist. Not only is Brother Tang's contribution, but to be able to condense a silver martial spirit with the power of a 4th level, the higher-ups are also very surprised. Brother Tang's future is limitless. Looking around, he found a martial artist who specialized in selling spirit cards. This martial artist sold the most complete types of spirit cards, and looked like he specialized in selling cards. Jing Hao did not think that Kong Yulin's death had anything to do with Tang Tian. Not mentioning other things, with Kong Yulin's 7th level strength, the current Tang Tian would not be able to pose a threat to him. Tang Tian replied with an, "Oh. I can easily beat you to a pulp." Bing did not even look at Tang Tian. In fact, the current martial technique system was a spindle-shaped structure starting from the fundamental martial techniques. Climbing upwards, the types would increase rapidly, and when it evolved to the higher levels, the types would decrease rapidly. This was the so-called, all streams return to the origin. Different routes lead to the same destination. Tang Tian sent a secret message to the other party, asking if he had a 4th level gold rank card. After his intuition had increased, many things had changed. Many sensations that he had neglected in the past were now revealed to him in detail. Tang Tian's heavenly dragon energy, which had no progress, suddenly had a new discovery. He could feel within the true power there was an explosive characteristic. Good stuff. As expected, Tang Tian could clearly feel the surrounding energy concentration had obviously increased. The gold rank card that Jing Hao gave him was 5th level. Distant water cannot quench present thirst. Sai Lei gave him 2 cards, one was Double Loop Kick. The other was 4 Heavenly Dragons, in addition to the 8 trigram steps that Jing Hao had given him previously. Tang Tian suddenly raised both of his arms and shouted, "All the best. Kill the 8th level." Jing Hao saw that Tang Tian was not too happy, and knew that Tang Tian did not know much about the benefits of a bronze martial artist, so he took the initiative to explain. The awarding of a bronze martial artist in the honorable martial group is rather strict. Other than strength, one must also have sufficient achievements. In a slightly more remote constellation, a bronze martial artist is sufficient to be a branch head. A bronze martial artist every month will receive 3 6th level star rocks, and can choose 3 6th level silver rank spirit cards, or 1 5th level gold rank card. Furthermore, a bronze martial artist already has the qualifications to enter the honorable martial group's internal exchange gathering. Brother Tang's current accumulated points is more than 5,000 in the bronze martial artist. This is rather shocking. Brother Tang can totally purchase the things that you need at the exchange gathering: treasures, spirit cards, spirit nuclei, etc. Bing swallowed the words that were at the tip of his tongue. Seems like this fellow still has some self-awareness. Dead. Tang Tian's eyes widened, a face of surprise. He was not surprised that Kong Yulin was dead, but surprised that Jing Hao actually found out so quickly. Chapter 92. With a sudden punch, the air around the fist was like wrinkles being blown by the wind, and countless complicated ripples appeared. A cold light flashed past Tang Tian's eyes and he punched out again. When he punched out, there would be a low vibrating sound like the vibration of a zither. Jing Hao was surprised. Tang Tian's changes were strange, and he had never met such an opponent before. Completely suppressed. Countless ripples spread out with Tang Tian's fist as the center. Martial spirit. Bang. Bing was stunned. He was also stunned by Tang Tian's sudden thought. I don't know about this. During our time, spirit cards were not as developed as you are now and not as common. Tang Tian did not have a hint of fear. He lowered his waist into a horse stance, with his left hand holding a crescent blade, and his right hand holding a tyrant's finger. The cold crescent blade was like a new moon, aiming straight for Jing Hao's lower body. The tyrant's angry finger on his right hand pointed out, a blazing red light beam and a low whistling sound. It was as if a sense of familiarity permeated from his bones. Tang Tian did not stop. Boom, boom, boom. One punch after another, each punch faster than the last. Settling his mind, he shook his wrist and the tip of the sword trembled. Jing Hao was distracted for a moment. To be able to withstand 4 gold cards at the same time, the strength of the silver martial spirit, made him even more excited. Jing Hao's mouth twitched and he said weakly, "All right." Tang Tian felt a wave of energy that was many times stronger than before entering his body, and suddenly he could not control his body and took 7 steps back. It was the first time Jing Hao encountered such an unimaginable energy, and he was very excited, and with a long whistle he changed from waiting for Tang Tian to come forward, and took the initiative to attack. Gold cards are indeed gold cards, so powerful. Tang Tian was full of emotions and suddenly he thought of a question. Hey uncle, if I use a few gold cards at the same time, what will the effect be? Jing Hao's sword suddenly seemed to come alive, like a snake stretching its body. The sword body suddenly made a circle. The martial spirit actually had such a function. Tang Tian's line of defense finally fell. He was sent flying by the back of Jing Hao's sword and fell far away like a sandbag. When he used the 4th gold card, Tang Tian immediately felt strange. The true power in his body suddenly became chaotic and he could not help but groan. Tang Tian did not understand if he used too many spirit cards at once, it would be easy for something to happen. The chaotic true power was like needles stabbing into his body, rampaging about. Ding ding ding. Jing Hao bent his body and used ruler step. Right now he had the mentality of a typical nouveau riche. He felt that he was rich, so he spent a few hundred points to give it a try. Young man Tang did it as soon as he thought of it. Without another word he used another card. An hour later Tang Tian suddenly jumped up from the ground and shouted, "Again!" The sword will hiss through the air, the cold light penetrating through the wilderness. He composed himself, faced Tang Tian and returned to normal. "Brother Tang, you don't have to hold back." Tang Tian's chi was naturally not as long as Jing Hao's. After a few tens of consecutive attacks, The frequency of his kicks became slower. But this slight change was immediately captured by Jing Hao. Without saying a word, the sword aura exploded and swept out. Personally experiencing it, Tang Tian then knew how fast Jing Hao's ruler step was. In a blur he lost sight of Jing Hao. But Tang Tian's intuition was extremely sharp. Without thinking, without adjusting, he kicked out continuously. In a split second, it was as though the entire crevice was lit up by Jing Hao's sword. Although Tang Tian was being suppressed and looked battered, he was still able to block his torrential attacks. Although Tang Tian's true power was only at the 4th level and could not be compared to him, but it contained the heavenly dragon energy and crane body energy. When these two energies fused together, it was extremely strange and difficult to deal with. Tang Tian's moon blade and Overlord's angry finger were all contained within, and he twisted. Tang Tian's figure was completely enveloped by the sword aura. Very quickly, Jing Hao realized that Tang Tian's true power was starting to show signs of fatigue, and he heaved a sigh of relief. Jing Hao's expression did not change. Chong, the long sword was unsheathed, and a cold light suddenly struck Tang Tian's fist. Tang Tian felt an extremely sharp true power following the sword tip into his meridians. Tang Tian groaned. His left palm was like a blade and his elbow shook. Shwa shwa shwa, 3 moon blades forming a triangle went straight for Jing Hao's heart. Once the fist was released, the momentum was very different. The subtle crackling sounds were incessant, as though bamboo was thrown into a bonfire. With a thought, countless realizations, once again reflected in the bottom of his heart. Regardless of whether it was concussion punch, hand moon blade, Overlord's angry finger, staining fall. With a thought, all the realizations were reflected in the bottom of his heart like flowing water. With this buffer, Tang Tian had already dispelled Jing Hao's sword intent. With a long whistle he once again punched out. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. This is a good idea. Good. Jing Hao cheered. A strange look flashed past his eyes. His fighting intent grew stronger. Without dodging, the dazzling sword aura was like lightning, accurately piercing Tang Tian's fist. Both parties' attacks were extremely fast. Jing Hao actually heaved a sigh of relief. When he reacted, he suddenly realized that, unknowingly, the pressure that Tang Tian gave him had already reached such a level. Indeed, there was no conflict. Tang Tian used hand moon blade. Without saying a word, his palm was like a blade. A faint light aura enveloped his palm. With a few quick slashes, a few crescent moon-shaped slashes appeared in the air. The hand moon blade's attack style was very unique. It was mainly slashing. The range was extremely small. Usually it used the shoulder, elbow and wrist as the fulcrum. The changes were strange and fast. Wasn't he only at the 4th level of true power? But at this time, the martial spirit in his body suddenly lit up with a faint silver light. Countless realizations and information like a tide were absorbed into Tang Tian's martial spirit. The chaotic true power in his body suddenly calmed down. It was as though the chaos just now was just an illusion. Fight once an hour. Tang Tian scratched his head. He was also attracted by his own thoughts. You better spend more time now. Absorb these realizations. If not, when the time is up, they will all turn into nothingness. Bing reminded Tang Tian. His eyes flashed with a cold light. You can find Jing Hao to spar. I believe he will be very willing. Jing Hao's eyes stared blankly. The complicated realizations rushed straight to his brain. It was as though his brain was hit by a heavy fist. With a buzz, his mind went blank. After hesitating for a long time, Tang Tian could no longer hold it in. Why don't we try? Tang Tian immediately woke up. The true power in his body was greatly depleted. He sat down and started to recover his true power. Their energy flowed out in all directions, causing both of their bodies to tremble. Tang Tian's mind was clear. A cold aura flashed past his eyes. He changed his 8 trigram steps, appearing beside Jing Hao like a ghost. The tip of his feet pushed out. Jing Hao's eyes lit up. His sword trembled. Like a snake spitting out its tongue. Pa pa pa, 3 moon blades disappeared in the air. Tang Tian was actually feeling a little guilty. He nodded his head. Concussion fist's tremor energy. The ferocious and violent heavenly dragon energy. The sharp crane energy. There is no conflict. Tang Tian was excited. Tang Tian's concussion fist used the heavenly dragon energy. After 20 hours, Tang Tian jumped up from the ground. He bellowed. Again. Good. Tang Tian's spirit was roused. He rushed forward and punched out. Jing Hao's sword techniques were strong. Each sword was extremely clear. It gave people a feeling that there was no way to avoid it. It was also extremely fast. Tang Tian suddenly felt an immense pressure. In that moment, it was as though he had returned to his training days. He blocked left and blocked right. He was in a sorry state. Clang. Tang Tian looked at his own fist. His expression was one of astonishment. After a while he regained his senses. A silver-ranked martial spirit is indeed strong. It can actually withstand 4 gold-grade spirit cards. Brother Tang, you will know in the future that you should never use too many spirit cards at the same time. The higher the level, the more it is so. If not for Brother Tang's amazing martial spirit, I'm afraid you would have been in danger. Jing Hao felt differently. Tang Tian's punch actually contained 3 layers of qi. But after 10 minutes, Jing Hao still had not defeated Tang Tian. Even though his true power was 2 levels higher than Tang Tian's, he could not help but take 3 steps back. Jing Hao was shocked. Tang Tian was only at the 4th level. He had not even broken through to the 5th level. But he was already at the 6th level. Using the 6th level to fight the 4th level, logically speaking, it should be easy. But the reality was completely different from what he had imagined. Only when he finished a round of concussion punch did he reluctantly stop. The information contained in the gold-grade spirit card was extremely rich. It was an extremely deep comprehension. These comprehensions were as though Tang Tian had gone through a long period of training. It was much more detailed and profound than the silver-grade spirit card. The gold-grade spirit card could retain 100% of the cultivator's comprehension. Pa. Tang Tian's body was agile. Both his legs kicked out consecutively. The frequency was extremely fast. The sound of both parties colliding was clear and concentrated. Tang Tian, who was inexplicably excited, used the other 2 gold cards without a second word. Jing Hao's spirit was roused. Good. Jing Hao's face froze. He clenched his teeth and said, Good. How is this possible? Without another word, he sprinted towards Jing Hao. Jing Hao heard Tang Tian's thoughts and agreed. He had always wanted to find out more about Tang Tian. When he heard that Tang Tian had used 4 gold-grade spirit cards, he was stunned. This guy. But Tang Tian's strongest point was his intuition. His intuition was so strong that it was shocking. There were a few times when Jing Hao caught onto Tang Tian's flaws. But Tang Tian seemed to have foresight and made up for it in advance. Many times Tang Tian was in such a sorry state that Jing Hao felt that he could end the battle with just 1 sword. But every time it was blocked by Tang Tian. Tang Tian was surprised, happy and scared at the same time. That move just now was too dangerous. It was as if a ball of dazzling sword rain had suddenly exploded. 6 hours later, Tang Tian jumped up from the ground and shouted, Again! It was the martial spirit. Although Tang Tian's heavenly dragon energy had only touched the edge, the heavenly dragon energy's fierce and violent characteristics were still present. However, Tang Tian forcefully persevered for another 5 minutes. The staining fall technique of borrowing force to strike force was used by Tang Tian in an extremely ingenious manner. Jing Hao did not expect Tang Tian to be in such a state where he was like an arrow at the end of its flight, and still maintain such a calm mind. Jing Hao was shocked. He could feel that the resistance coming from Tang Tian was getting stronger and stronger. Because Tang Tian's understanding of martial techniques was rising rapidly. Especially his heavenly dragon energy, it was starting to show its power. But what surprised Jing Hao was that Tang Tian's true power could actually allow him to persevere for so long. For a full 10 breaths he did not even have a decent counterattack. The fierce and violent heavenly dragon energy fused with the 2 consecutive kicks. Immediately it was like firecrackers being lit. The crisp and clear sound of explosion was continuous. Tang Tian's leg shadows were like a raging wave sweeping towards Jing Hao. After 10 hours, Tang Tian jumped up from the ground and shouted, Again! Chapter 93. Have you found out about Brother Tian? Xianxia asked. When talking about Tang Tian, the ice on her face seemed to melt, and she became gentle and charming. In the study room there was only Qian Hui left, her eyes flashing with light. Behind Tang Tian, Bing glanced at Jing Hao, who had fallen into a deep sleep, with sympathy. Then Miss, bring Ah Wei and Dezhu along. I understand. Shanghai Qian immediately said, I'll go and prepare Miss luggage. Shanghai Qian turned pale with fright. Miss, you can't. The matter of the Southern Cross hardship plate involves a lot of people, and can even be traced back to the era of the three big armies. This matter is not that simple, young Master Tian's father, I'm afraid. Jing Hao laid on the floor like a pile of mud. His eyes were like a fish that was about to suffocate and could only gasp for air. He had never imagined that there would be a day where he would lay on the floor without any grace. They can't help. Jia Shanghai shook her head. I can go by myself. Uncle Qian, don't worry, I'll be fine. I never doubted that my brother Tian will become very strong. He will definitely become strong because he has a truly brave heart. Jia Shanghai's eyes regained their calmness. He only needs time. And before that, let me go and scout for him. Tang Tian did not think much of it. He only used himself as a reference. He did not know what other people's training was like. Jing Hao regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. Why did he agree to this guy? Jing Hao almost had tears streaming down his cheeks. Qian Hui did not waver in the slightest. Her long black hair fluttered in the wind, revealing her breathtakingly beautiful face. Her dark and calm eyes were filled with determination. Her voice was sonorous. Towards the Shangguan family, I have already done all I can. Now that the Shangguan family has stabilized, even without me they will still be able to survive very well. Shangguan Qian knew that it was a foregone conclusion. The miss had always had her own opinions. Once she decided on something, no one could stop her. She quietly returned to the Shangguan family. In the short span of 2 years, the Shangguan family had risen again at a shocking speed. No one looked at her as a young lady anymore. She had won everyone's respect. The ruined Shangguan clan, under her hands, exploded with astonishing power, and regained the #1 aristocratic family of Immortal Constellation Mountain. This was the glory that had been lost for many years. Her long black hair draped over her shoulders, and her exquisite and beautiful face seemed to be without the slightest bit of worldly aura. Only the girl's bright black eyes were quiet and enchanting. She was dressed in the Shangguan family's traditional dark green military uniform, black leather boots, a bright yellow ribbon and snow-white gloves. She exuded a sharp and cold aura. She suddenly smiled mischievously. I was planning to investigate these clues before Brother Tian comes. Otherwise he wouldn't be able to lie to his big brother Tian, but if he told him he would definitely go. His current strength is still not enough. So at this time we need the powerful Chia to step in. All of Brother Tian's enemies will all be killed by Chia. Because the results of sparring with Big Brother Jing Hao were outstanding, even more outstanding than training hard. Regardless of the few martial techniques or his instincts to adapt, the results were amazing. But what really made Tang Tian unable to stop was the heavenly dragon energy. He had just touched the doorway of the heavenly dragon energy, and was still far from mastery. Just when he was most excited, Big Brother Jing Hao suddenly said that he was not going to train anymore. Why did it have to be like this? Shangguan Qian was incoherent. Jia Shanghai Guan's eyes curved, and with a thick smile she said, he loves to play these kinds of games. He is very stupid, but you will feel that doing these stupid things with him is very happy. But he was finally free. This time I will be gone for at most 3 months. Jia Shanghai Guan thought for a while and said, let Big Brother Tian wait for me here. If I am not back after 3 months, bring him to my study room. The young lady sat in front of the table, looking at an old white book in front of her, her expression congealed. She was the most perfect woman in the entire Immortal Constellation Mountain. But miss, we can think of another way to deal with young Master Tian's matter. Shangguan Qian said anxiously, once miss, Shangguan family. Tang Tian did not know, after a long period of training hard he was already used to high-intensity training. Every round of training time was 10 days. In these 10 days, to maintain a high degree of concentration, non-stop training, other than him no one else would do this. But Shangguan Qian's mouth was full of bitterness. Then if young Master Tian comes to find miss, what should I say? Uncle Qian asked. No one would have thought that 2 years ago the arrival of a young lady would change everything. Shangguan Qian sighed. He also thought of those years of anxiety, and then thought of the fright that miss received. He suddenly felt that it was not so unacceptable. The Shangguan family had a long history. Its existence could be traced back to the pioneering era of Immortal Constellation Mountain. In that era, the Shangguan family was synonymous with Immortal Constellation Mountain. Her father's generation put in countless efforts for Immortal Constellation Mountain. Wei and Dezhu were the two experts in the Shangguan family, second only to Xianxia. Even if Jing Hao was a strong-willed person facing such a perverted and crazy way of fighting, very quickly he was tortured to the point of vomiting. It was not that he had not sparred with others before, but he had never sparred with anyone like this. Other than meditating in the middle, there was actually no time for rest. Tang Tian was like an undying cockroach. Every time he was about to relax, he would jump up, roar and challenge. Everything is on the right track. Shangguan Qian hurriedly replied. He was Xianxia's most trusted butler and also her uncle. He watched Xianxia grow up. That time when Xianxia was hiding in Starwind City, he went with her and was loyal and devoted. Uncle Qian, is there anything going on at home recently? Xianxia suddenly raised her head and asked. But slowly, the smile on Xianxia's face disappeared. She stood up and muttered, "That means Brother Tian will be here soon. Seems like that matter must be investigated thoroughly. If not, with Brother Tian's character, he will definitely not give up." "I have investigated thoroughly." Young Master Tian was brought by the Honorable Martial Alliance from Starwind City to Immortal Constellation Mountain. Shangguan Qian had accompanied Xianxia in Starwind City for many years, and when he talked about Tang Tian, his face was full of smiles. He was chosen by the Honorable Martial Alliance's Kong Yulin. It is said that Kong Yulin values young Master Tian very much. Young Master Tian insisted on coming to Immortal Constellation Mountain, and in the end, everyone else followed. Coincidentally, Kong Yulin's sister is the branch head of the Honorable Martial Alliance's Immortal Constellation Mountain, so Kong Yulin brought them all over. Young Master Tian must have wanted to give Miss a surprise. Thinking about the silly things she did with Tang Tian in the past, Xianxia suddenly burst out laughing, and the whole room seemed to suddenly brighten up. "I know." Xianxia nodded her head. "But this matter to Brother Tian, he is afraid that even if he dies he will still investigate." "I understand him. Let me off." But hearing Big Brother Jing Hao's snoring, he could only suppress the urge to pull Big Brother Jing Hao up. "Yes." Xianxia nodded his head. But he was a little curious. Why was Big Brother Jing Hao's endurance so bad? Tang Tian ravaged Jing Hao for half a day, but Jing Hao still did not have any reaction, so he could only get up and leave bitterly with a face full of unwillingness. Tang Tian, who had no one to practice with, simply returned to his original position and began his own training. But it was also this aristocratic family with the longest history in Immortal Constellation Mountain that a few years ago almost met with the calamity of extinction. Even Xianxia was sent to the remote Wuan star for protection. With the gradual restoration of peace, the Shangguan family's crisis was also quietly resolved, but the Shangguan family, which was greatly weakened in everyone's eyes, was already on the decline. "You can't play like this." Tang Tian squatted beside Jing Hao with a face full of anger and nagged. "I say, Big Brother Jing Hao, your endurance is too bad. How long has it been? I haven't even won once. Why did you stop? Are you doing this on purpose? Afraid of losing to me? You don't have to be like this. We are upright men. How can you be like this?" This was Xianxia, so dazzling that people could not look at her directly, a genius young lady, the current real power holder of the Shangguan family. Xianxia smiled slightly. Her calm eyes were full of nostalgia. "You don't understand, to a 7-year-old girl who was hiding in a foreign land, it was so hopeless, dark and cold at that time. I was so afraid that I did not dare to sleep every night. When I entered school I was bullied, and at that time I felt that the world was really terrible. You can't understand, when he suddenly appeared and helped me to chase away those bad kids, he was as dazzling and warm as the sun. By his side I could only feel at ease and I could completely relax. Those few years were the best time of my life." Towards her enemies she was cold and stern, decisive when she did things and never hesitated. But among the poor people her kind and gentle name was widely known. He planned to come again in a few days. Go. If the sleeping Jing Hao knew of Tang Tian's thoughts, he would immediately be scared awake. But now he was enjoying an unprecedented sweetness. It was only 24 hours. She did not say some words. The reason why she was so anxious was because the Oblivion crack of the Southern Cross constellation was about to open. Although usually Big Brother Tian does not seem to care, but I know in his heart he cares a lot. At that time, to accompany him, I made a vow in my heart, even if I have to become the enemy of the world, I will accompany him to fight against the world. Jia Shanghai's voice was indifferent, full of nostalgia but firm as steel. I know my responsibility and have never thought of shirking it. 5 years ago I left Big Brother Tian and spent 5 years to bring the Shangguan family back to glory. I have already done my duty for the family. To me, power is meaningless. If not for the Shangguan family's blood flowing in my body, I would never have left Big Brother Tian. Now I have completed my duty. In my eyes there is only Big Brother Tian. Jing Hao's gaze became slack. He heaved a sigh of relief. 24 hours, continuously fought 24 rounds. Mrs. Study Room? Shangguan Qian was stunned. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.